Did you have?
And now for the next 30 minutes, as the world turns.
For viewers of the CBS soap opera As the World Turns, first word came at about 1:40 p.m. Eastern Time. It happened too quickly for cameras to be in place.
And I gave it a great deal of thought, Grandpa.
Here is a bulletin from CBS News. In Dallas, Texas, 3 shots were fired at President Kennedy's motorcade in downtown Dallas. The first reports say that President Kennedy has been seriously wounded by this shooting.
Then it was back to the soap opera, but not for long. Soon after, Walter Cronkite was back, reporting from the CBS newsroom, complete with rotary telephones and wire machines.
This picture has just been transmitted by wire. It is a picture taken just a moment or two before the incident. If you can zoom in with that camera, we can get a closer look at this picture.
And almost exactly 1 hour after his initial bulletin, this now famous announcement.
From Dallas, Texas, the flash, apparently official, President Kennedy died at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, some 38 minutes ago. Vice President Lyndon Johnson has left the hospital in Dallas, but we do not know to where he has proceeded. Presumably, he will be taking the oath of office shortly and become the 36th President of the United States.
All right. I see you got the paper in the news today.
I'll tell you something. There's $169 you could get a GE washer and $139 for the dryer on sale at pre-Christmas sale at Goodyear service stores.
All right, fantastic.
These prices are insane, Hunley. They're literally giving stuff away in Dallas on this particular day.
Yeah, they are.
Governor Conley resting well. Day began auspiciously. Funeral for the president be held on Monday. Pro-communist. This is a good one. The paper's like an hour old, but there's a pro-communist. Some random dude has been charged with the act.
That was quick.
That was quick. Wow. I mean, every single article, except the ads, are some relationship to the, well, not all of them. No, there's some other weird articles back here. Change evident as network enters decade of Lassie, 1954. Some update on Lassie, the show.
I hope Timmy's okay.
Timmy's just stuck in the well. What's going on, Hunley?
Well, I mean, it's obviously the anniversary of the assassination. I can't, you commemorate it. You don't celebrate it, I guess.
Yeah, it's a weird word. I guess it's like 9/11. What do they say? Commemorating is a word you would use.
I think so. Yeah.
Commemorating, yeah. Honoring or acknowledging. It's like Pearl Harbor or something.
Yeah, any of those. Well, I kind of have that every year with Memorial Day because I'm like,
except for one, which was J6, which they compared to the rest of them.
Oh, well, no, that's worse than the rest of them. If
worse than the rest of it. I mean, dude, they ought to take that speech by her talking about worse than Pearl Harbor, worse than 9/11, and just do something with that speech, because it may go down in history as the craziest political speech of all time. By an elected official. I mean, whoa.
It got a lot of competition, though. I mean, there's some pretty ignorant.
Yeah. But you could make random comments in the House and the Senate, but you know, an acting member of the administration saying that officially from an official event. Holy shit, that one's going in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I don't know. How's the weather your way? It's gotten cold enough here that I've had to break out the long sleeve America's Untold Stories.
Whoa, I had to break out the Jack Ruby Mona Gorilla Planet of the Apes hat shirt, where every single person in the involvement is wearing a hat. Except for Oswald, they took away his hat, and I'm commemorating that with my press hat here today on November 22nd, 1963, a day that will live in infamy. Oh, here's the card of Jack Ruby. Look at that one.
Ooh, yeah.
It says on the back, Jack Ruby, notorious for killing Lee Harvey Oswald, JFK's alleged assassin, was more than just a nightclub owner. There's a whole bio on the back of these things, by the way, which I didn't realize how in depth these cards were.
Yeah, the bio is actually generated from our episodes.
AI generated from the really?
Yeah,
that's cool.
AI of pulling the entire transcript, sorting it out, rewriting it so every card is linked directly to the episode itself.
Dude, here's the Buell Wesley Frazier one. Some guy asked me today if we want to have him on the show to discuss how he could sell more books for himself, and I didn't respond.
Somebody from Peru. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't know, but here's the ferry one. The ferry one is great.
Oh yeah.
Because on the back is a little, in the lower right-hand corner, you'll see Joe Pesci in Ferry, which I didn't realize.
Yeah, I did that for the thumbnail, so it would put the people together.
Oh, right. Wow.
And the QR code, if you scan it with your phone, will take you to the episode as well.
Well, what about this one here? Will it take us to the episode with Max?
No, that
Good?
takes us to a map, to her house. No.
Oh, right. Oh, my God. It says Ruth Payne, an intriguing figure, Eric, linked to the JFK assassination, played host to Marina Oswald, wife of Lee Harvey Oswald during her pregnancy. Then a long thing here, and then the QR code, and then Michael right next to her. This is coming out of by the way, that photo is them coming out of the Warren Commission testimony, which went on for quite a while. And then this one, which we explored on Tuesday with Vince Palomara, the fastest talking JFK researcher in the business.
Hey, he's got to get it in there.
I respect that, bro. I respect that. No, I like the fast talker ones. I mean, that's so East Coast that, I mean, we just geeked out the other day. We just went freaking crazy. There were people who commented that their heads were exploding. It was so many facts, too fast. They had to listen to fire hose nonstop. They had to play it on 33 RPMs or something to get it down to a slower voice or whatever they do these days. But yeah, Vince is on a mission, so we just wanted to get out as many facts as we could. He's a second generation OG. The first generation OG will be on Tuesday, and that's going to be a full episode with Robert Groden, the original OG of the JFK assassination, because we have news on Friday and we had the guest on Tuesday. So Eric and I thought we'd sandwich it with two different people on the two different dates, since we were going to do the news on Friday. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I was going to say, before we roll into the episode, let's go and pay McBill.
Okay. Pay it
The
up.
deep state strikes back with a clear message to create nuclear war as Trump transitions into office. Now we know why the celebrities were building bunkers. It's confirmed. NATO fires missiles into Russian territory, forcing Putin to the brink of nuclear war. We haven't been this close to World War III since the Cuban Missile Crisis, and folks, Putin does not mess around. If he threatens war, he means war. If global disaster strikes, are you prepared? 90% of medications come from overseas. You need to cover the basis for your family's medical needs and prepare for any type of medical catastrophe. And the wellness company's emergency kits are your best defense against the unexpected. Packed with life-saving medications like ivermectin, Z-Pak, amoxicillin, and more, these kits combat bacterial infections, staph, bite wounds, UTIs, strep throat, and respiratory illnesses. Each kit includes their medical board-approved guidebook that walks you through how to treat different emergency scenarios. Ordering your prescription emergency kit is easy and fully digital. Answer a couple questions after checkout, and your kit is delivered to your front door. Don't wait until disaster strikes. Act now. Get prepped for life's emergencies and live with confidence in these uncertain times. Kits are only available in the USA. Head to twc.health/Eric and use code AUS. Save up to $40 off plus free shipping.
All right.
You know what? The Europeans are dead. They can't get this, and we're going to survive if we have this kit.
Yeah.
So
Well,
fuck them. Yeah, I've had mine way before the thing even came out, it looks like. But now I see Drew and Viva plugging it, so they're catching up to us.
Definitely. All right.
Wait, there was a couple of things I wanted to ask you about. One is the Oswald AI thing,
Yes.
discount. Okay.
What we're doing, because we're commemorating the anniversary for the first time ever, actually, we are going to we're putting locals on sale, and it's for a combination of obviously the anniversary. We have the Oswald audio drama completely finished, and it's Black Friday. It's getting into the holidays, might be something you can buy for family, things like that. So from today, the 22nd of November through the end of this month, because I always get annoyed. It's like, do I stop it on the Friday? Do I stop it on the Monday? It's like through the end of November. So as of December 1st, the price goes back up to the normal.
Repeat that, because there's people out there who have hearing problems.
No problem. And I'll be repeating in every episode through the end of the month as well.
Well, you better tell them Eastern Standard Time, because some of the autistics might get upset, and rightfully so. Rightfully so.
If it is November 30th, you need to get it done. Okay.
Okay.
Let me just put it that way.
They'll be reaching out to you at 11:59, Hunley, saying, what part of midnight do I have to do this?
Well, either way, yes. It's we're taking it from $70 to $50 again for this short window.
Yeah.
For the anniversary of the assassination, and obviously for the holidays. It's Black Friday. I typically take advantage of Black Friday every year anyway. It's like that's whenever I try to subscribe to anything and everything and pay for stuff that I normally get, like even like razor blades and things. I'll buy them at this time of year to try to save a little bit.
Okay. Right on.
But I hope you guys check it out. It's unstructured.locals.com. There is a link in the description. There is an after party, so you can come by and check it out for free if you want. Become a member for free, look around. And then if you want to support, that'd be great.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of documents and PDFs of rare. Speaking of JFK, there's a lot of out of print or super uber expensive books in the JFK genre that we have found and put up for members on the locals board. Ours is a little bit different than Viva and Barnes. They've got their thing. We've got our thing. We have a lot of secret documents. We have a lot of PDFs. We have things that don't involve them. Obviously, they're into something else. But each locals is different than other people's locals. And ours is unique for focusing on some things like that. The AI version of my Oswald miniseries is, if I may say so, and I didn't work on the AI part, it is spectacular. Because it has Foley sound effects, voices that we AI'd or whoever AI'd them sound exactly or as close to humanly possible, including myself as a narrator. That's creepily weird in a good way. So people who are on our locals board have listened to it. And some of them, when they got to the end of episode 5, I heard or read yesterday, actually wept. So, there is a strong ending to it. Just be prepared for that. But you could take the ride if you become a member, and it may be well worth it to you. You actually get a copy of the script in a PDF format, so you can follow along. There's 5 scripts, they're 2 hours each. The entire thing is about 10 hours. And it's a great gift for Christmas. Right, Eric? You can gift it just somehow if you.
I believe you can do gift subscriptions. I may have to look up an article, but sure. I mean, if you're getting a membership and paying for somebody,
that would be a great. If somebody gave me that, I mean, obviously, if I didn't have it, that would be a great, unusual Christmas gift to give someone who was into this type of thing. And a lot of people and not to toot our own horns, but we've been doing this for 3 years with JFK stuff and other stuff. But the JFK stuff, I don't know how many videos we have, but I would put it up again.
69.
How much?
69.
69. Okay, that's interesting. Beef and broccoli. I would put it up against. People mention these other channels. I don't really know what they would possibly have that we don't have. I would go up with our channel regarding JFK against any single channel on the YouTube universe any day, any place, any time in terms of factual information, obscure information. I mean, if you heard me and Vince the other day, there's stuff that is so minute in this genre that 99.9% of the researchers have no idea what Vince and I were even talking about. And that goes for Robert Groden on coming on Tuesday. That goes for Jim DiEugenio. And that's why I wanted to roll into this thing about the JFK files in relation. I mentioned this last week about the Twitter files. What I'm trying to do is put out this this group like the Twitter files, like when they had Matt Taibbi and what's her name from the New York Times, going through the Twitter blocked accounts. These guys here, this is Dick Russell. I recommend 3 guys to be involved on the board of the what I'm calling the presidential JFK files release committee, or whatever you want to call it. There's 3 men that I am recommending to be on this committee: Jim DiEugenio, Dick Russell. There's Jim DiEugenio, Dick Russell, and Rex Bradford. These are 3. Rex Bradford I know slightly. Jim I know very well. Dick Russell I don't know at all. Dick Russell wrote the book. This is Rex Bradford. He runs the Mary Farrell Foundation, which I strongly recommend people subscribe to if you're into this. It has every single document ever released regarding the JFK assassination. He is the curator of it. Mary Farrell was an original OG investigator out of Dallas. She passed away years ago. Rex has been running this website. The reason I'm picking these 3 guys is that I'll explain each one of them, but they're all document-oriented researchers. There are plenty of guys who research stuff who are not document savvy. That's not their expertise. These 3 guys understand the genre, know the documents, have been involved with FOIA for many, many years, and I recommend these 3 guys to whoever is in charge of this thing, and that could be RFK Jr. Dick Russell has worked closely with RFK Jr. He actually wrote his biography a year ago and has been working with him on the campaign. So I thought that Dick Russell would be a good ears and eyes for RFK Jr. as one of the investigators of the JFK files. There was Schellenberger, there was Barry Weiss, there was Matt Taibbi, Glenn Greenwald for the Twitter files. These are the 3 people that I'm recommending for the JFK files. If that means anything to anybody, I don't know if I have any gravitas in this area, but I'm just putting that out there as my nominees for this presidential committee. As I said, Dick Russell, who wrote The Man Who Knew Too Much, which is about Richard Case Nagel. Strongly recommend that book. We touched on it, me and Vince, last week about Nagel. Incredibly strange Oswald-like character. Not unlike Thomas Arthur Valley, but even more so. Jim DiEugenio, of course, Destiny Betrays, worked closely with Oliver Stone on multiple documentaries, Reclaiming Parkland, multiple books, another savant. We have an interview that him and I did in Dallas, I think last year or the year before. It's
from 2022, and then he's also been on. He's been on Paul Blow for Chokeholds.
Right. The latest book is Chokeholds, and has multiple authors, but he is the godfather of this type of research. And like I said, Rex Bradford, I don't even know if these people are interested, to be honest with you, but I'm just putting in names out there.
Well, Jim DiEugenio is like the 2nd generation.
Oh, he's second, but so is Vince. Yeah, so is Vince and these other guys. The 1st generation is what we're going to have on Tuesday, which is Bob Groden. We're going to go over some assassination film footage and have him comment on that on Tuesday, which is going to be a mega good episode for everyone. But that being said, that was just my take on today. Now we've got the box that we saw in the storage facility. Was the last news we had, Eric, was that box that somebody found, and they may believe the JFK files might be in there. There's a couple of characters you may be interested in. One of them is Sylvia Duran, who was really cute. She was at the Cuban embassy in Mexico City. This is in regards to the JFK files, just to touch on some loose ideas. Sylvia Duran, shown here, was one who was picked up by Mexican intelligence on the orders of the CIA. She was brutally tortured by Mexican intelligence at our direction. We know this because of JFK files that have been released in under Trump and under Biden. So that's a possibility that they don't want to go down this road in terms of Mexican involvement. I don't believe Oswald was ever there. Either there's Bob Groden. There's other people who believe he was there, like Jefferson Morley. I don't believe he was ever in Mexico City. I've contended that for over 30 years. I'm sticking with it. I think it was a fake out and a frame up to frame him in Mexico City for being there and trying to get a visa through her. And she denied it, and hence the torture of Sylvia Duran. There's other things in episodes about the phony photos of the guy coming out of the embassy. The fact that J. Edgar Hoover said they faked the photos and they faked the phone calls. Hard to get around that.
And then the transcript was, then the recording was deleted.
The recording was deleted by a guy who took over. What's the guy's name?
He's out of UVA.
Abato, or he's a Democratic apparatchik. Yeah, I forget his name. I can see his face in my head, but he's at the University of Virginia, and he took over the presidential library. Sabato. Larry Sabato. That cat is going to have do some explaining to do in the afterlife. Sabato. Yeah, I think it's Sabato. Soon as these tapes got there from the LBJ library, the tape of Hoover talking to LBJ on the phone was deleted, and no explanation for it. And that's where it happened. And that's why those tapes were sent there. So Larry Sabato could delete that one particular tape, maybe others, but the transcript survived on paper with the work of Rex Bradford. That was his bailiwick. Bradford was involved in this, wrote articles about the deletion, articles about the transcript, and Bradford knows this whole world. That being said, there are multiple deep state players trying to prevent Trump again from releasing these files. But, I don't know. He says there are other people involved. There are other people involved in the assassination, including this guy's father. Now, he was just recently reelected. He's kind of a weird dude. He's kind of the Lindsey Graham of Texas, I guess. But I just wanted Eric to put up, because I looked at these two photos today for the show.
Well, I didn't have that on him, but this is his father.
Okay, if you had them side by side, but there's a photo. I don't know if you got the photo of his father.
I have him with Oswald.
Yeah, show that, because if you show that next to actually Ted Cruz, you'll see how exactly they look alike. Go ahead, Eric. This is, oh no, that's a little cockeyed. Not that one. There's another one where they're side by side, Oswald and Rafael Cruz. That one you really can't see his face, but maybe I could show it. Is that possible or no?
You can, or I'll look and see. I might have another one somewhere. I just have to search it.
Somewhere. I lost my phone all of a sudden. But Rafael Cruz is a dead ringer for Ted Cruz at that age, and he is standing next to Lee Harvey Oswald on Canal Street passing out flyers. And famously, Trump said in the first campaign that his father was involved in the assassination of that's not even the one I was looking for, but that's good enough. That on the right is Rafael Cruz. Whether you believe that or not is up to you. Rafael Cruz came out of Cuba, not unlike Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz as second generation now, obviously, but a real sketchy guy. And they're passing out Fair Play for Cuba committee flyers on Canal Street. Oh, wow. Look at that one.
Rafael.
That's interesting. Wow. He'll end up in Toronto, eventually end up going to Texas, getting in the oil business. I mean, just a real sketchy cat. And all these guys' fathers are sketchy. I mean, Tucker's father, extremely sketchy. I mean, dude, it's like the fathers are so fascinating because they're so deep statey.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Now, I don't know who Marco Rubio's father is, but I'm sure if we did a deep dive on him, we'd find some other weird, sketchy crap.
It's possible. Yeah.
I mean, if you came out of Cuba, they were going to do something with you. You just didn't go home and put in a chicken pot pie.
And I agree. Tucker himself, verdict's out on Tucker. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, remember when Matt Gaetz went on his show and Matt Gaetz started telling him, we could segue into the news with that, but I remember when Matt Gaetz went on Tucker's show and he was talking about the smear job that was being done to him, And he said to Tucker, you know the girl I'm talking about. I was dating her. We came over to your house. And Tucker goes, I don't know anything about her, bro. I don't even know what you're talking about. I never met her in my life. And it was so creepily weird. Go back and look at that Tucker Matt Gaetz interview, people, because you'll find out how sketchy Tucker can be.
Oh, for sure. And that does lead in perfectly. Well, last week we were just talking about Matt Gaetz. As of yesterday, he's no longer in. It was questionable yesterday, and I talked to some of the lawyers, and they were like, yeah, it's possible that he actually could have resigned that Congress that ends this year, and then reported for duty for Congress in January.
Yeah.
But he came out today saying that he's not going to be in Congress. So I don't know.
In the letter, he even in his resignation letter, he says, I could do that, and I doubt that I will. In his letter when he resigned, he actually referenced that and said, no, I'm not going to do it either way. Okay. So but that was weird. So I am predicting right now, first of all, this whole thing is a fucking debacle one way. Any way you want to spin it. I don't know about 4D chess. Neither Eric and I believe in 4D chess.
I get tired of the term.
I get tired of the term 4D chess. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. There's been some blunders here. And I just want to clear the air about this, because one of my beliefs is you can't release the names of nominees for your cabinet 5 minutes after the election. That is amateur hour. You say, well, how could you question Trump's integrity and intelligence? Look, the guy is a human. He's made mistakes before. Let me just explain this from Political 101. When you release the names of your cabinet picks 5 minutes after the election, the opposition, and the opposition could be the media, could be the rhinos, could be the Democrats, have now 2 months of a free fire zone against your nominee picks. Let me repeat that so people understand it. If you have 2 months before the hearings for you to get confirmed, you have no space to reply to 2 months of non-stop media assaults on your cabinet picks.
And Oppo research.
And Oppo research. That's why you pick them as late as humanly possible before the hearing. This guy decided, I'm going to own this media space and get a head start, heads up, whatever he wanted to frame it as, by announcing the nominees right after the election. Well, guess what? They went to work on the first one. Now they're going after Pete, the second one. Then they're going to go after Tulsi Gabbard, the third one. The record, I think, is Clinton, who lost 5 nominees. I think Bush lost 3. Everybody's lost nominees. But I think as far back as I remember, 5 was pretty big for Clinton that went down to defeat. But it's not necessary. It's not necessary. You announce them after Christmas or closer to January, and you go into the hearings January 5th, January 6th with the new Congress. It's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. I don't get this is a self-inflicted wound.
I think it's typical. Trump likes being in the headlines all the time.
There's other ways to be in the headlines. Matt Gaetz was in the headlines. One of my beefs with Trump is that he wasn't in the headlines. He was at the UFC fights instead of being with his candidate. Matt Gaetz was not at that fight. Matt Gaetz was not at Madison Square Garden. Matt Gaetz was not embraced by Trump in a press conference saying, this is my boy. Presidents on both sides of the party will, when you pick someone who's controversial, you've got to go to the mat with them. This guy let this guy twist in the wind from the second he picked him. It was outrageous. It really was outrageous. I mean, this guy, that phony sex report, they knew they were going to milk this thing. Everybody knew they were going to play around with it. It's not, it was debunked a long time ago. That doesn't matter. I'm not even referring to that. What I'm referring to is Trump's lack of embracement of his nominee. He should have held a press conference with the guy from day one. The more controversial the guy, the more Trump has to embrace. It's a mathematical equation. You can't just go to UFC fights and forget you've picked these controversial nominees. Nobody represented the MAGA movement more than Matt Gaetz. Nobody represented the J6ers more than Matt Gaetz. Nobody would have been a better AG choice than Matt Gaetz. Well, now he's gone. Now he's gone. And he was left a twist in the wind. He didn't just wake up the other day and say, I'm going to pull my thing. He conferred with Trump, and that's how they spun the thing to get him out of there. But man, was that a shot in the foot. And now I'm getting texts just so you know the depth of this. I get Democratic texts so I can follow their storylines. They are not only crowing, but raising millions of dollars off the Matt Gaetz scalp. I'll repeat it again. Taking that scalp is allowing the Dems to raise millions of dollars from their donors and get back in the game. That's how big of a deal it is. This is not about Matt Gaetz. It's not about Trump. This is a huge fucking mess. Now that they smell blood, they're going to go after Pete and they're going to go after Tulsi. And by the time you get to RFK's confirmation hearing, that is going to be as bad as it's going to get. That's going to be, Gorsuch crazy Supreme Court level stuff that we've never seen before. It's a waste of political energy and a waste of your landslide victory to have to do battle. They should have been told about this, the media, in late December. I'm sorry, that's just my take on it. Now, Bondi, I don't mind at all, out of Florida. That's not the point of this thing. I don't mind Pam Bondi coming out of Florida. She's a veteran AG, state AG,
Super qualified.
Absolutely, no doubt about it. In fact, many people are worried because she's more qualified than
that is the funny part, because they're like, okay, the problem with her is she's actually extremely competent and can get things done. She is a Trump loyalist. There are some people who are already, upset about her on the choice, but I'm like, now she's got a track record defending Trump on impeachments.
Yeah. I mean, I have no problem with her. I'm just trying to explain the political 101 physics of what just happened and how it can't be allowed to happen again.
What bothers me, though, is last week Trump went to the House.
Yeah.
I don't think he visited the Senate. And I just don't understand it.
It started with Rick Scott.
You're there.
Yeah.
Why aren't you walking over and saying, knock, knock, knock?
Yeah.
Let's talk here.
Is it people are saying it's beneath him? It's not beneath any president. Every president has done this in the history of American politics. You got to go over there and make sure you got the votes. You bring your whip. You find out, whip the votes. I mean, LBJ was a master of this. You find out who's voting for who. I mean, I watched this piece of shit, Rand Paul, the other night, on with Schmidt, talking about how he wants no help from the military in rounding up these illegal aliens, and he wants more work visas. I almost fell off the couch. He wants more work visas for the people who just got here, Rand Paul. I mean, and then Schmidt, who's the host of the show, he was speechless. He didn't even know what to say. He was caught so off guard by Rand Paul, who just went on and on and on, saying we can't have the military helping Trump round up these people. Give me a break. The military can do whatever they want in terms of helping us. They help in national disasters. They help with the National Guard. They help defend our borders in a time of war. You're telling me we can't use them for this? Oh, come on.
Remember, he is a libertarian.
I don't know what he is, but to call for more work visas for illegal aliens is so out of touch with where we are as a nation in time and space in this country. I was shocked.
Well, again, that's why I said you have to know that he's a libertarian. A libertarian stand, and they separate. Conservatives and libertarians are not the same. Libertarians are open borders people.
All right, well, this guy's dangerous. This guy's fucking dangerous. Then I mean, you gotta primary this guy and get him out of there. I mean, this guy's dangerous. I had no idea. Fuck this guy. What is with Kentucky, by the way? Tell me about Kentucky. How this happened? How this guy ends up with Mitch McConnell in Kentucky, and then the cities in Kentucky that have blue blue mayors. I mean, what the hell's in the water in Kentucky? I mean, I wish somebody from Kentucky would come on the show and tell us what the hell's going on down there.
I'm sure they're probably still trying to figure out. I mean, you've got Mitch McConnell, who's managed to assert himself on the Rules Committee to screw over Trump every direction.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the dude's still clicking off.
Yeah.
I mean, he's as bad as Biden. Have you looked at him?
Yeah.
In interviews, he's just
absolutely. Absolutely. I'm telling you, this is
a frozen turtle.
Weekend at Bernie's too. This guy might be dead before and still voting, having his staff vote for him.
Oh yeah, it's so creepy. Well, I guess that's why you put him wherever, because it's not like he's doing it. I don't think he's there.
No, I don't think so either. It's the staff. I mean, Biden almost wandered off into the rainforest. The other chicks in Hawaii, sight unseen since Election Day. I mean, who the hell's running this country? This is the craziest thing I've ever seen. And more calls for Biden to step down to make Harris president, by the way. Another media apparatchik on CNN talking about him stepping down for her.
Yep. Some people are annoyed. Sorry, folks. If you get into pure libertarianism and ANCAPs, they are for open borders. They hate driver's licenses. They love open borders. This is a reality. Not every libertarian's the same, but the libertarian, when you go down the path, open borders. Sorry.
It's dark, bro. All right. What kind of stories do you have today, Hunley, in the hopper?
Well, I mean, we start off with Pam Bondi. Obviously, that's a solid one. I don't foresee her having a problem getting through.
No.
That's why people are so upset with her, is because a lot of people like Lindsey Graham, et cetera, are saying, "Oh, she's wonderful, she's the best." They're like, if the person I don't like is giving her props, I don't think I like her anymore.
Look, we can't go by the Lindsey Graham temperature gauge anymore of anything in American society. Forget about this guy. Let him just vote the way he wants, and hopefully he'll be gone soon. But just getting back to the Rick Scott thing, Trump should have put pressure on Thune, and he should have put pressure on Cornyn, and tried to prop up Rick Scott more than he did. Like you mentioned, he did not go into the Senate. These guys voted. Famously, Thune said, "Don't interfere with our procedures." I mean, dude. I mean, when you win by a landslide, again. They're still counting votes out here in California. So I don't know how big of a slide it is, but I mean, it's kind of outrageous what Thune did.
Yeah. Yes. Get ready for more. Get ready for more. I do see, like, Trump has Mike Johnson tailing around with him everywhere. I think that's very interesting. Not many people trust Mike Johnson either.
Yeah.
Thune makes me think of Paul Ryan.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's always going to be a problem. I was hoping there would be enough support to at least push Rick Scott into a runoff vote.
Yeah.
But no, he got squeezed out. I don't think he got a single extra vote. They kept the vote private. And I think that Ted Cruz, who I showed earlier, even though he said he voted for Scott, probably didn't.
Yeah.
And I'm sure a lot of others didn't. I think that Trump could have had an effect just by saying, don't do an anonymous vote. Do what you want.
Yeah.
Your Senate, but no anonymous vote.
There was a lot of ways for him to skin that cat, and he just took it too lightly, in my humble opinion. Now, I don't know if I don't know what 4D chess is, but it seems to be one loss after another so far, and he hasn't even gotten into office yet. So these are real setbacks, people. You can poo-poo them all you want and say he's got double secret probation ideas of what he's going to do. I haven't seen that. All I know is Matt Gaetz is not the attorney general. I predict Matt Gaetz said today that he's not going to go into the 119th Congress. I don't think he's going to be the DeSantis choice for that Senate seat left by Marco Rubio. I think they're angling for Laura Trump to get it, from what I understand, and not Matt Gaetz. I predict, and this is my prediction today, Matt Gaetz will end up on TV on Newsmax.
He almost did a few years ago.
Yeah, I think he's going to get a show on Newsmax. That's my prediction today.
And he probably be happier.
I look.
Gaetz is a lot like Tucker Carlson.
Yeah,
in the sense he's got independent money.
Yeah,
he doesn't care about anybody.
Yeah, he's got Kennedy money, bro. He's got Kennedy money. I mean, why should he do this? They've successfully used the underage Peter level smear to again take down another good person. This continues to be a weapon that they're now using, because the gay smear is long gone. That was from the 1950s, 1960s. That doesn't work anymore. They've now gone with the underage smear. That's their drug of choice, and it's effective. It's still very effective.
Well, yeah, didn't it used to be you couldn't be caught with a dead girl or a live boy?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So now it's
speaking of which, I think that a guy named Scarborough was found with the earlier of the two mentioned by Hunley, And I understand that now MSNBC is going to be spun off by Comcast, including CNBC, into some oblivion. I don't know what spinning off means. It means you lose the connection to the mothership, right?
Yep.
To NBC Universal. I think they're done. Mika
Actually,
and Joe.
Bill O'Reilly had a really solid breakdown discussing what's happening with it with Chris Cuomo. So everybody forgive us for douche on douche crime here. Admittedly, they're both douches, but there's valid points even from douche mouths.
Yeah.
We're going to have to try to mend some cliche fences, and you two are going to go in there and you're going to try to tamp it down, because Comcast knew the next day they were going to announce that MSNBC is vapor. That is a huge media story.
Why is it vapor? Just because they're spinning it off and putting them in the... Well, they're spinning off a bunch of brands.
There's no spin-off.
There is. It's a spin-off company.
There's no spin-off.
I agree.
See, you buy the propaganda, Cuomo.
Oh, okay.
See what I mean about
I'm just saying what's being reported.
All right.
But what do you know?
Yeah, I know, but why would you believe what's being reported? You want the real story? Here it comes.
Please.
So they're uncoupling their word, Comcast, MSNBC from NBC News. That means MSNBC has no resources at all. None.
Right.
They're not going to be able to pay these people millions of dollars.
By the way, already Rachel Maddow is getting $5 million a year less than she did. So
right, which is odd, because she's getting $10 million a year more than Anderson Cooper, who is an American media icon in many ways. He works on 60 Minutes. He does the New Year's celebration. He only gets $20 million from CNN.
Yeah, but he's not a double minority like she is.
Oh, I don't know about that. I'm just saying
he's only gay. She's gay and female.
No, I don't know. The point, the idea that she makes $10 million more than Anderson Cooper is bizarre. Any way you want to spin that.
Well, the idea
hold on.
I'm going to keep playing, but
okay,
I'm just saying the idea that she's going to get $5 million less a year instead of, I thought they were going to say she's going to get her salary dropped to $5 million. Not
right.
$25 million.
Right.
Give me a break.
But what happened? I mean, who's going to pay the $25 million? Let's listen to Bill O'Reilly, because he's correct. They're a man without a country.
Oh, yeah.
Rachel Maddow, whatever she's making. NBC News is saying, we don't want you around. Right. Why? Because NBC News' numbers, Lester Holt and the Today Show, are catastrophe, because half the country equates NBC News with MSNBC and they won't watch. So NBC is desperately trying to save the mothership of information, and they have to throw MSNBC overboard. They're not putting anything into MSNBC. They want to sell it. Yeah. So where's Georgie Soros now? Georgie's buying radio stations. You can get MSNBC for nothing. They'll give it to you. They don't want any more of this. Why? Because it's hateful. Not because it's so far left. The whole NBC Comcast hierarchy is far left. But it's hateful. They hate Trump. They hate people who vote for Trump. Everybody knows that. And you know what's next? The View. ABC News is going to have to cut ties with The View. And you saw that today or yesterday when Sonny Hostin had to read a legal statement in the middle of a segment.
Well, she's done that a million times.
Her and Whoopi.
Not to argue with Bill, but the amount of legal statements that Sonny Hostin has had to read is
different. Though she was doing it, she got interrupted, and it's like, read this statement.
No, that's happened before. That's what I'm referring to. This is like a running joke with them on The View, where Sonny Hostin has been given legal statements coming back from a break. It's not just yesterday. This has happened repeatedly.
I know.
Yeah. But I think
that was a classic. Yesterday,
it was good. That was good.
It was a beautiful hostage moment, video, and her seething. It was great. Her head was going to explode.
Like I said, the 3 late night talk show hosts are going to have to go. Members of The View or the entire show is going to have to go. ABC is in a tough spot there, because that's a show during the day that women used to watch. The numbers are now in free fall. He's right about MSNBC. They're not spinning off anything. What do you mean spinning off? What does that mean? Like the Harlem Globetrotters? I mean, this is going to be uncoupled from NBC and NBC Universal, and whoever wants to buy it is going to try to buy it or not buy it. I mean, he's only mentioning George Soros. We've also heard the laughing predictions that possibly someone else might buy it, a guy named Elon Musk.
Hold on. That's what I've been putting out.
Yeah.
And I've been putting it out now ever since it started. I want Elon Musk to buy MSNBC, pay off the Alex Jones legal bill, and Infowars, merge them
I like this
into one network.
I like this.
And have them contractually obligated. So Rachel Maddow, you can stay and be part of the panel with Alex Jones.
Well, they may be contractually obligated anyway, and NBC may be on the hook to buy them out. So that's a separate thing about the talent, because they have contracts. So, I mean, they may have to pay them off to get rid of them, or, the buyer could keep them or whatever. I mean, what are you buying? Whoever buys this thing is not going to be able to use the name. So that's worthless. They're not going to allow them to be called NBC anything.
No.
Right. So what is it you're buying? The $25 million salary of some lesbian chick who has scowling crazy crap coming out of her mouth every 5 seconds? I mean, what is the bargain here?
I don't even know. Like I said, it would be, it's so cheap that he's right. They would practically say, you want it? $1, we'll give you the Portnoy deal.
Right. But I mean, the fact that Mika and Morning Joe, who may or may not have killed his own intern, allegedly, went to see Trump in Mar-a-Lago. And then the next month, did you see the the protest video by Rosie O'Donnell about them going to see Trump? Holy crap. Dude, this is one angry lesbian. Rosie O'Donnell, who cannot adopt a child that does not become a serial killer, went into just a straight on video saying how angry she was at Mika and Morning Joe, how she's done with them. And I think she spoke for a lot of people, because I think the next day, I don't know what they were even trying to attempt by doing this. Were they ordered by NBC to go there?
I think it was trying for relevance. I mean, they're not. I mean, they're grifters. Yeah. Remember, I think Trump gave her away at their wedding.
Yeah.
He was at least there. I mean, and Mika used to flirt with Trump continuously all the time. They loved Trump.
Just so people know who we're talking about. Mika Brzezinski is the daughter of Zbigniew Brzezinski, the original Soviet hater who was the Secretary of State in the Jimmy Carter administration, who got us eventually into the spot we're in now with the Russians by his policy of surrounding them and taking them down, came from Zbigniew Brzezinski, a former Polish anti-communist, vehement anti-communist, but his policy has led to where we are now with the Russians. That's how dangerous his policies were. And this is his daughter, who eventually married a conservative Republican, I think from Tallahassee, who may have had a district right next to Matt Gaetz.
Allegedly conservative Republican. And by the way, keep in mind, she brought her dad's name up as to why they went.
I saw that. That's why I'm thinking about her dad again. As she mentioned her father, Zbigniew.
She's like, my father knew. And I'm like, oh, you figured this out now 8 years later?
No, she was just dropping some nepotistic names to get a job. That's why she did that. That's how she got the job anyway to begin with, is because everything she's gotten is because of her dad. So she mentions her dad because she's looking for work now. And she may not be able to drag Prep Boy along with her.
Right. Well, in fairness, Elon and Donald Trump Jr. were having they had a Twitter exchange about it earlier today. I don't know if you saw that.
I did not. Oh, that's funny.
Donald Trump Jr. Hey, Elon Musk, I have the funniest idea ever. And Elon Musk said, how much does it cost?
That's funny.
Tim Pool, hey, I said this before you, Tim Pool. Alex Jones hosting would be the most entertaining outcome. Dave Rubin, we all should go in on it.
Let me tell you something. In between World War III and Rachel Maddow, I would love to be the host of MSNBC. That would be great. That would be great.
That would be the best ever. It really would.
Well, we'll see what happens with Musk buying Infowars, because they've obviously been caught red-handed with this phony auction, Eric, right? I mean, the judge kind of blew the whistle on them in midstream.
Yeah, and Elon Musk did file something with the court, so he might be an interested party. Now, according to, oh God, I hate quoting Milo Yiannopoulos because there's another sketch character. I just gotta say,
he's a grifter.
He's really bad. So sometimes I know he's wired in and does have info, but everything he said, I'm always suspect with him. He's claiming that there were two bidders. That the one bidder with the supplements or whatever, the goal was get a billionaire, put up some cash, enough cash to just buy Infowars and just leave it alone. And let Alex, do his own thing. He would be quote unquote an employee and just get a salary, but everything would be keep running the same, and just moving on. And I think that sounds completely plausible. And I do think that's probably why the whole Onion chicanery came about, is because they did not want to keep Alex Jones on the air. The whole point was to
get rid of Alex Jones,
and get his likeness to where he could not talk, so he'd be a hostage, and then the Onion so they could mock him.
Yes, brilliant plan, brilliantly nefariously evil plan. Luckily for Alex Jones, it's been caught by the judge. And speaking of judges, there's a Judge Marchand who made a ruling earlier today that you may want to cover. An agreement with Alvin Bragg. And it's funny because when Alvin Bragg's ruling came out, when Alvin Bragg's interpretation of the sentencing came out, Trump's lawyers were initially celebrating that this was a victory. And I watched Dershowitz, and Dershowitz said, not only is this not a victory, it's another legal trap for Trump. And Dershowitz is quite willing, according to Dershowitz, to work with Trump's lawyers to file briefs to get this to the appeals court without the sentencing. In other words, what he explained was, and I'll explain this to the audience, by not sentencing Trump, he cannot appeal the conviction of 34 felonies. That would hold over his head like a sword of Damocles for the next 4 years. After the 4 years, then they would sentence him when he gets out of prison, out of the presidency to prison. This is a perfect storm. He can't appeal a sentence that has not been thrown down in terms of what his sentence is, which is intentional. Dershowitz knows a way around it. He knows the game of what they're doing, finds it despicable, and knows a way to get around it to the appeals court where they're withholding the sentencing, Eric. This is the game. They're withholding the sentencing to block Trump's appeal of the sentence. You follow what's going on?
Yeah,
so today, Marchand.
Well, because Marchand did say he gave the defense a deadline to where they could file a motion for him to dismiss the whole damn thing.
Right. And then he ruled that he is now putting it off indefinitely, which is what Alvin Bragg wanted. He now has ruled that the sentencing is put off. They could file anything they want with him, but he is now, quote unquote, putting off the sentencing, quote unquote, indefinitely to stop the appeal. He can't appeal if the sentence has not been filed. That's their fucking game, bro.
I wonder if there is a constitutional argument against that, though.
Dershowitz has it.
Like a cousin to a speedy trial. Because having never be sentenced in a sort of Damocles is kind of in that same bit as,
right. I don't know the semantics, but Dershowitz does. And he's in contact now with the Trump lawyers to show them the road to get around that and get it permanently dismissed and get the appeals process to be reviewed by the appellate court in the state of New York. Which if you went to them right now, if Trump's lawyers went to the appellate branch, they would say there's no sentencing. There's nothing to appeal, bro. Which is the game.
Standing.
That's the game. That's the game, though. That's what they're doing. And but the Trump lawyers were initially celebrating, and I'm going like, what the fuck are they celebrating? They're going to keep this thing going for 4 more years till he gets out of the office. It's astounding to me that they don't get it. And then eventually somebody hips them to it and they get it. Somebody like Dershowitz and says, bro, this is not what you think it is. So maybe by now Dershowitz has talked to them, but holy crap, Marchand, this afternoon, Marchand ruled this indefinite thing, which is what Bragg wanted, simply because of one reason. In November, coming up, there's a man running for re-election. His name is Alvin Bragg. He's running for district attorney. If this case was thrown out, Alvin Bragg would look like a big, fat, black schmuck. He couldn't get reelected to dog catcher. If he's able to keep this case alive and say, I have convicted Donald Trump of 34 felony counts, that's what he's going to run on in November, unopposed. If he cannot do this, there's going to be people coming out of the woodwork to run against Alvin Bragg and finally drive a stake into this fat black vampire's heart, which needs to be done. That's part of the game of Alvin Bragg's life, to be DA again. So that's a factor. Marchand, of course, is cooperating with Alvin Bragg.
Yeah, well, Alvin Bragg did run on taking down Trump. I mean, that was literally his campaign promise.
Yeah, but he can't.
And Letitia James.
Yeah, but he can't use it as a badge of honor if the appellate court rules that this thing is dismissed. Now he looks like the biggest schmuck in New York.
Good point.
All of that will be wasted, Eric, and he would rather have it wasted either 4 years from now or after he's reelected.
Well, and also 4 years from now, then there's nothing. They can lock Trump up all day comfortably. There's no worries.
Yep. Believe me, they're not going to stop. That's what nobody seems to get it on the right. They really don't. There seems to be, and I've talked to you about this before. I'm an Old Testament guy, eye for an eye. The people of the New Testament seem to be the turn the other cheek people. And I think that's a clear, never really thought about this in biblical terms, but there seems to be a clear division in terms of retribution or punishment or revenge or justice between the Old Testament people and the New Testament people. Am I wrong?
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, there's some people who mock that, turn the other cheek so they can slap the other side.
However, they seem to be in the Republican Party, and they seem to have that point of view about a lot of things that the Old Testament would not allow to happen, the eye for an eye people. It seems to be a schism, is what I'm saying. I'm starting to see a schism between these two types of people, the turn the other cheek people and the eye for an eye people. And I'm in the Bannon eye for an eye Old Testament world, and there seems to be let God judge them in the afterlife people. And I'm not exaggerating too much. I think that's a big portion of the Republican conservative movement.
It could be.
Am I onto anything, or is this my?
No, it could be, because I'm trying to add the third layer to it, which should make more sense, because you're talking about religious aspects of it, which the left typically doesn't have religion.
Oh, no, right.
And
they're not even right. They're not in the conversation right now. Right?
But they are, in the sense that I think their extreme is there is no afterlife, so you have to have it now.
Right. That's a separate conversation.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying that's a separate conversation. What I'm saying is within the Republican, MAGA, populist, conservative movement, there seems to be people like Bannon and maybe Gaetz and some other people who want revenge, justice, retribution. Barnes is in that camp. I'm in that camp. And then there seems to be the other people who say, no, we can't be like them. We can't do what they do. We can't go after them. Two evils do not make a good. They will be judged by God in the afterlife. And I'm not even using religion in any proper way. I'm just saying it's so deeply morally in their fabric as to be not something that they really have a taste for.
Well, it's forgiveness. I mean,
forgiveness, right? That's what I'm saying. Forgiveness.
People are saying it's weak. It's not weak. It's actually strong. But it's
okay. But that's the debate. That's the debate, bro. Yeah, that's the debate.
I mean, there are uses to both sides. As an example, and it's really hard to achieve a balance. Like, you could have the whole revenge aspect of it, but then some of the same people who believe in that, like Old Testament vibe or whatever, if you change your mind and you come over, it's a where the hell have you been? Get out of my face. You haven't been here.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying there's a schism between the Old and New Testament in terms of punishment and forgiveness and retribution and justice. And I don't know where the line is. For instance, there's many of us who want retribution and justice for the evildoers who did evil to us. And there's a lot of people who just say, let's move on. Forget it. What's done is done. And don't be like them. and let's just go forward. It's hard for me to do that. It's hard for me to do. I'm just speaking personally. I know I have a lot of friends who agree with me. It's hard for me to let J6 go without punishment. It's hard for me to let go of these different things that happen to people, like Bannon going to jail and Peter Navarro going to jail and Paul Manafort going to jail. I believe there's got to be a tit for tat, an eye for an eye. Maybe I'm crazy, but it just is so embedded in my moral fiber that I'm not the turn the other cheek guy. I never wasn't. I mean, I'm obviously Jewish, so it comes from that Old Testament that I studied and I'm not a New Testament guy because I'm not a Christian, and I'm not denouncing either side. I'm just saying it seems to be a schism here in a viewpoint of the world.
Yeah, and I think that there is a balance, that has to be in. Like, Harkall, I'd like to see a Fauci go down. I'd like to see a Bill Gates go down. In some ways, I think Bill Gates is worse than Fauci. And I know a lot of people would be like, are you crazy? In my opinion, Bill Gates is actively right now manipulating the world, has the means, the opportunity, the ability to do this. Fauci's retired. So Fauci right now, I want him to pay, but his damage is done. Like, he's not able to do that much more damage, whereas Bill Gates out there is actively damaging the world, in my opinion.
Who is going to pay for all the things that were done to us for the past 5 years? Who is going to pay, in your opinion, is physically going to pay some price of justice for having done whatever they individually did to us for the past 5 years?
I don't know.
Okay, well,
I don't know. I am encouraged by what Barnes brought up, because I did see that article. I was like, oh shit, and he described it pretty well. Essentially, sedition trials. Yeah. So that could be the start. If I start seeing some court-martialing going on.
So you're saying start with the military.
I think it's a great place to start.
Oh, no, I'm not. Yeah, I don't care. But something's got to give. Something's got to give.
Sure.
There's got to be, truth and reconciliation. I hate to use that term because it's a communist thing that was done in South Africa by a communist party that came in after they overthrew the government in South Africa. But it's got to be our version of truth and reconciliation, and something's got to give here. We can't just turn the other cheek and move forward. I'm sorry. There's too much damage was done to too many people for too long. There's got to be prices to pay in each area of our lives. Whoever was involved in that, whether it was medical, military, civil, media, censorship, children, abuse of children, parent being abused at the PTA. There's got to be truth and reconciliation in all these different areas for our culture to move forward. We can't just have Trump come in on January 20th and go, let's go, let's get a trade deal with China. Let's do all, forget about it. I mean, that's great, but we've got to focus on these social upheavals that we just experienced for 4.5 years. I mean, they're gonna gaslight us to death that these didn't happen. We got to make people remember that it did happen and make them pay a price.
Well, we do have a nominee who not only was an AG for 8 years, but also a prosecutor for 18 years, and has some very strong potential.
Are you talking about Bondi? Or
absolutely?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Trump put two of his lawyers alongside of her too. Those two lawyers will be deputy AGs. But I think there's 7,000 prosecutors in the goddamn thing. And everyone's got to turn in their resignations on day one. Is that you, or what was that?
Yeah, I don't. Somebody else.
Okay. Everybody's got to turn. Traditionally, prosecutors turn in their resignations with a new administration, and then they're reviewed and either let go or rehired. I hope that happens. I hope they dismantle the Department of Education, and I hope they move certain departments out into the hinterland. So, what
do you think of that appointment, by the way? Linda McMahon as the Department of Education. I'm like, from WWE to the DOE.
WWE wife.
Yeah.
I mean, what was she, a wrestler? I don't understand.
Yes, I think she was. I mean, I think she performed.
I think Vince McMahon was a wrestler.
Watch it regularly. I didn't watch it regularly, but yeah, and I'm just going, well, I mean, the DOE is a spectacle.
But what are you in charge of? The dismantling of the DOE?
I don't know. And that was the question I asked Leslie. I was like, wouldn't that be an interesting position? Yes, you have been given the position to be the last.
Turn out the lights, the party's over?
I guess so. That would be a cool job.
Well, if she was a wrestler, which I think she was,
I think she was.
She will have razor cuts on her forehead. Look closely at the scars on her forehead, because every wrestler, as you know, or maybe you don't know, you didn't follow wrestling. Oh, I'm sorry. They kept like razor blades between their fingers, thin razor blades, to cut their forehead so they could just like grab their heads like they were bleeding. And if you look closely at every single wrestler, their foreheads are scarred across from all the razor cuts that they did to themselves in performance. Okay, so UFC has cauliflower ears and wrestling has razor. But these are self-inflicted. This is, this is stuff that they did to themselves, where they would just go, oh my God, and then blood would be. They used the forehead because you already had a furrowed brow. But if you look at the brow of any veteran wrestler, it's a mess up there, bro. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, and head wounds bleed like crazy. So yes, that's why they did. And they would just keep a razor blade like right in here in a usually in a Band-Aid or something, and they would stretch it across the head. Okay. Well, just a little wrestling insight. You can watch The Wrestler if you want, with Mickey Rourke, one of the greatest pictures Mickey Rourke ever made. Fascinatingly great movie, The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke. I highly recommend it. Who just, excuse me? Mickey Rourke has always baffled me, because he was literally one of the most handsome actors in Hollywood, and he got so into the boxing and whatever. It's like he didn't care. I mean, he's the equivalent. Not the equivalent. He's the equal of Val Kilmer, who, by the way, Cher said was the only man who ever dumped her. She's on a new memoir tour, and she had to get permission to use the dead name of Chaz, which I was talking to someone last night. I go, what's the dead name of Chaz? That's what we called Chaz. That's what I called Chaz when Chaz was a woman. I don't know what happened, when she get a dead name, but apparently Cher said she had to get her son Chaz's permission to use Chaz's dead name. When she was a little girl, she was Chastity Bono, but nobody called her Chastity as an adult. I mean, I called Chaz Chaz as a man, and I called her Chaz as a woman. So I don't know what the deal is there. I'm just so befuddled. Even Caitlyn, I think, is okay that people bring up Bruce. I mean, Caitlyn didn't win the damn Olympics. I know they like to change the turn it around, but Bruce Jenner won the Olympic medal. How do you explain that if you're talking about history? But then that's the postmodernistic angle. They like that's the whole idea, is to make everything corrupt. Am I supposed to say Caitlyn Jenner won the Olympics in 1980? I mean, whatever Olympics it was. Am I supposed to say that? I think that's the plan. I really think that's what they want you to do. I've seen where they try to change it. I'll tell you this right now. The bomber who bombed the Attorney General's office in Alabama, they were covering up the guy's name and convicting him and sentencing him because it was revealed today he was transgender. That's why they covered this thing up for so long. And now you got the case in New York. The Penny case, the strangulation case, that I think it ended today, and it's going to go to jury soon, right, Eric? Or defense rested. Article you sent, and so you got closing arguments, probably another day. But that is something that never, ever, ever, ever should have gone to trial. I agree. It's just ridiculous. I mean, and it is so maddening. Nate and I were talking about Eric's talking about the Daniel Penny case, out of New York, out of the subway. I mean, it is such a travesty of justice. You have all the body cam footage, literally all the people here. Yeah. And what do you have? Oh, you have one white guy, so you've got to prosecute him. There were two other people that were holding the psycho down. Yeah, they happened to be black, so they didn't have charges. I mean, it was a completely racist prosecution, in my opinion. And you're right. You're right. All the other passengers, they were black, and they all said, I have not seen one person who was there not say that the guy was scary and Daniel Penny was a hero. Daniel Penny stopped this psycho from harming people. And the psycho that you mentioned, who apparently was a Michael Jackson impersonator, among other things, was announced today, was out on bail on a violent felony of attempted murder, and that was revealed today at the trial. And also they brought in a coroner from Florida who operates out of Texas now, who said he was not killed by the chokehold. He was alive, and he died later on, and Penny's got nothing to do with it. So we'll see. We'll see what happens
body cam
here.
footage of the cops showing where the cops are saying he is responding.
Yeah. I mean, look, what if a guy dies of a heart attack 3 years later? Are you responsible for that?
Well, they try to say January 6th people are because of Sidnick or whatever, who died the next day of natural causes. They try to say that he was murdered by January 6th. So, I mean, give the idiots time. They will try and claim it.
Yeah. Well, somebody took fentanyl and was in a chokehold, and he died in a Floydy manner, and that's what killed him, according to the actual coroners, was the drug overdose. And yet those guys were sentenced to long prison terms. There's a lot of retribution that's needed, and there's a lot of pardons that are needed. There's a lot of situations that are needed. I mean, the fact that, I was talking with Jonathan Gross, the lawyer for the J6ers this week, and, because the pardons are being floated out there, and now they're saying, not so fast. We're going to have to judge each one of them. And I'm going, here we go. Here we go. Nobody can ever do the right thing. I mean, all of these people were entrapped. All of them were felonized out of misdemeanors. All of them have had their lives destroyed. One guy just got out yesterday. He's the co-founder of the Proud Boys out of Hawaii, white dude who was released because the Supreme Court ruled that his case was unconstitutional individually. And they took his charges. They made up crimes that he was blocking police officers and whatever he was. And the crimes were made up to give him the felony rap. And he got out. This is from the Proud Boys. And he is embraced by his beautiful black wife and his beautiful biracial children. And he's a co-founder of one of their QAnon phony dog whistle groups called the Proud Boys. Give me a break. Right. Give me a break. Give me a break. There's got to be payback for all these things. There's got to be retribution, and it's multifaceted retribution, whether it's putting some general like Milley on trial or sedition. It's got to be somebody, some think tank on the right. It's got to come up with a white paper to deal with all these different areas that were abused. Whether
that has come up. I mean, that's why I said it. The generals.
The general thing. Yeah,
they literally have.
Yeah,
a
this
list
has to be done in all areas. Yeah.
Well, you start at one, and then you just let it roll. And in some ways, just take your time. Investigate, collect, etc. The first step should be high level, immediate steps, like all the security clearances for the 51 gone.
Yeah,
that needs to be done just immediately.
There's things you could do immediately. I mean, Kash Patel, if he gets into the FBI, I mean, this guy Ray, those guys who got that settlement out of the Justice Department. You know what? Got to give the money back, bro. Change the ruling. Now the money's got to go. Yeah. Peter Strzok and his mistress received $2 to $3 million out of their friends Merrick Garland and the Justice Department. You know what? We looked at the case and we're overturning that analysis, and we'd like the money back right now. They have to be incarcerated immediately for treason. I mean, there's things that have to happen, and there's got to be a list, a major list of things that have to be done. And maybe Bondi and the people will put it together. I certainly hope so, but I've seen worse happen, from people on the other side not doing it. So hopefully they will follow through, like you're saying.
All right, we got a bunch of super chats coming through here. Let me just look at the last one here. Let me see. Mark is right. Nobody on the left is ever made to pay it. Eric, your attitude is the problem. This is why the right fails. How's my attitude a problem?
I don't know, but
am I saying nobody pays? I don't think so. Okay, whatever. Thanks for the cash.
Whatever.
Jesus. Felix Ramirez, new member. Thank you very much. Pamela Clifton, it's been 61 years. So I gave a sad face. RFK Jr. Come on, Bobby. Yeah.
Well, I mean, wait till you get to his confirmation hearing. Is that going to be a bloodbath? I think he will survive, my personal opinion. But it's going to be brutal. And
it's going to be the worst you've ever seen. Again, Matt Gaetz is nowhere near the problem.
No.
That RFK is to these senators, and people just don't.
Well, not to
understand
the
that,
senators, to big pharma. Forget about the senators.
No, that's my point.
Oh, I mean,
because if you take out big pharma, you take out their campaign money.
Yeah.
There's no bigger lobbyist that's funneling money in.
How about television? How about the media, Eric?
Yes, that's why I said I RFK better have good security, because he is.
Forget about the security. I mean, I'm just saying that this hearing is going to be.
Oh yes,
it's going to go for a week. It's going to be brutal. It's going to be a bloodbath. I don't know if he's going to survive. I mean, it's a big job that he has been given to oversee a $2 trillion budget on the. I mean, that's just crazy. I mean, I don't care who oversees this stuff, but he has so much baggage, and it's all coming out again.
Well, you know what? During the campaign, a lot of his bear stuff, all that did come out. So
the bear stuff's coming back, the whale stuff's coming
his
back.
diary, maybe that diary will be completely
released. Of course, they'll release it, and it'll be skywritten with a skywriter.
It'll be trickled every day until confirmation day.
Yeah, he could have named them January 6th, but he named them now, so they're busy as beavers, digging up everything they could find in RFK Jr. Luckily, most of it has been found, but. It's going to get ugly.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. I think Tulsi will survive. They've been floating that
Tulsi's going to be
Russian
brutal
acid.
too. Tulsi's going to be brutal. She may not survive.
I think she will.
Okay.
I think Hegseth is out. I don't.
He's done. He's
toast.
Survive. He's toast. He's toast. I mean, I don't know why this guy is not fighting for these guys. If you want this guy, if you're serious that Pete Hegseth or what Hegseth is your guy, you got to open your mouth. You can't just issue a statement on Truth Social. I support Pete for this. I mean, what are you picking him for some sort of Boy Scout role or something? This is going to be a war. It's going to be a war. You won the election, so you deserve to get him. I don't think anybody in the Senate and the House is going to agree with you.
No, it's going to be interesting. Then the weird part about RFK is you might see some weird alignment in votes, like a bunch of Republicans may go against him.
Yeah.
And a few Democrats, like Cory Booker's of all people, will support him. So there's this, I don't know.
We'll see.
That's the bloodbath.
That's going to be a bloodbath.
Craig's odd spot, Elon to buy MSNBC. That's what I mentioned. Mike Schaefer, thank you very much. Al Gonzalez, Mark with the hat, giving the Darren McGavin Kolchak the Night Stalker vibe.
It's funny. I just watched the Night Stalker, and it wasn't that. It was the Night Stalker of Richard Ramirez. It was a great series, fantastic series. The I think it's on Netflix, called The Night Stalker. But it's a fantastic little tidbits of small town police forces, and we have a bunch of them here in LA County. He was constantly going from one jurisdiction, and this is for Al and for you. Ramirez was constantly going all over the map. He would kill somebody in Long Beach, then he'd kill somebody in Pasadena. He'd kill a couple out in freaking San Bernardino somewhere. And each of these places had their own police force. So the guys from the LA County Sheriff's Department who were on this from day one had to continually deal with these other jurisdictions where the murder just happened. And for instance, he had a car they impounded, and they said the LA police and LAPD impounded his car. And this is similar to the difference of the Berkowitz case. In LA, they said, we're going to impound the car. And the sheriff people said, can you give us the prints? And they said, yeah, we'll get to it. Never even did it. Car sat there for a month and 2 months, no prints. They finally went. It was an outdoor lot. The prints were gone. That was why this guy was able to continue what he was doing, was because of the multi-jurisdictional situation.
Well, there's another problem too. You realize he was the second Night Stalker?
I don't know about the second Night Stalker, but the name Night Stalker was bandied about by the media, and they had all kinds of other names before the Night Stalker stuck.
But what I'm trying to say is that there was another Night Stalker, the name, and he's the Golden State Killer. But when
that was different. Yeah.
No, but it was also California, and I could see where the confusion would get added into that too. Because remember, he just barely got caught like a handful of years
Right,
ago.
but well, he does go to San Francisco, Richard Ramirez, and he does. This is really interesting because he goes to San Francisco and obviously that allows the mayor of San Francisco to reveal in public in a press conference the fact that he was wearing this unique brand of Adidas sneakers, leaving the Adidas footprint. It wasn't Adidas, it was Avia, some really obscure brand of sneakers. And they had his prints at each of the sites, in mud, in sand, in dirt, in all these different things. And it was the same sneaker. The sheriff's department guys had found the company CEO. They found the guy who designed it. They showed him the sneaker prints and they said, that's ours. They boiled it down to like 15 different people who bought them in LA. So they were onto this sneaker thing. And then something bad happened, Eric. The mayor of San Francisco, a obscure woman named Dianne Feinstein, decided to have a press conference after her handpicked chief of police revealed to her that the number one part of the evidence was this Avila sneaker, and she revealed that to the public, and they never saw the sneaker print again. And that's why cops don't like to tell politicians shit. That's why. Dianne Feinstein did that, and he killed many more people after that because of Dianne Feinstein.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Anyway.
All right. Well, on a happier note, Dick Dickerson gifted 20 America's Untold Stories memberships, which we deeply appreciate. And he said, you guys make Oliver Stone look like a rube. I disagree.
I disagree there, bro. I will never know as much as Oliver knows about JFK, bro. No man on the earth.
Except for James D. Eugenio, maybe. Because he's kind of half the brain.
There is stuff that Oliver knows that no man knows. He told me stuff about just random people coming up to him, writing him letters over the years, calling him. This side stuff that he has pursued on his own that nobody knows about. Oliver knows everything.
Well, plus he has the fame and the access that people would reach out to him that might not go to others. And I'm sure that adds a bit.
Yeah, you know. Jimmy knows everything, but Oliver knows a little bit more.
Nick Guiste, today is my birthday. Watched the men who killed Kennedy as a kid, been down the rabbit hole ever since. Your JFK content is amazing. Mark, can I get a come on, Bobby?
Maybe later. Maybe later. Yeah, in the show. Maybe a little later, Nick.
It's his birthday, Mark.
Maybe a little later in the show, Nick. Quick moment.
Sean Lucan gifted 10 America's Untold Stories memberships. Thank you very much, Sean. Malarkey said, I believe I have watched damn near everything available on JFK. This channel is the best.
How many do we have? 69 videos?
69, I believe.
Okay. All right.
Because I have the playlist.
Does that count Vince's new one? Oh, 70 will be Groden on Tuesday then.
It will be. And it is possible that I might have accidentally not put one in the playlist. So there could be even more. But I believe that it's 69.
I just want to point something out. Somebody was over here and they saw my silver button thing on the wall the other day from YouTube. And I was explaining the channel to them and they said, do you use animation? I said, what? And they said, do you edit the shows? And I go, no. And the guy looked at me like I was from another planet. These are live shows we've done. These 69 videos on JFK are unedited, no safety net, completely live, no animation. Nobody came in afterwards and punched it up or did anything. These are all live documentaries in midair that you're seeing up there. Nobody retouched them. Nobody went back and changed a word. Are there mistakes in there? Yeah. And no. Well, do you think that's funny?
No. I mean, because some of them come up like putting up the wrong mobster.
No,
there's definite mistakes.
I mean, it's very, very few. Eric, I mean, honestly, how many? In fairness, I mean, how many mistakes are there?
Not a lot, but I take each one very hard.
Okay, but I'm saying for people doing it live, I mean, you get
a
name wrong or a date wrong. We didn't go back and correct it. It's there for you to see if we did.
Well, we can't. I mean,
we can't. That's the reality of it. The point of the matter is these other channels where they're editing and making videos about JFK using animation or photos or film clips and editing it. They don't even compare to what we're doing live, Eric. in terms of sheer information, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, well, I've dubbed the term, and we may not be the first, but I hadn't heard it before, and I call it a live stream documentary.
Oh, right on.
So, I mean, I think that's what we're doing.
A lot of times when you get a guy like Vince or even Rich Barris or anything, I have to interrupt them, because guys who have their own shows, and I'll explain this to people who criticize me over the years, guys who have their own shows are not used to having a dialogue, if that makes any sense to people. There are people who just do their own thing and they just talk on a show. They're the most difficult to deal with in an interview format, because they're used to just talking. And two names come to mind, is Rich and also Vince Palomar the other day. So you have to somehow, to make it an interview conversation, you've got to interrupt them, because they're not used to being interrupted, if that makes any sense to people.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I mean, there are the rare exceptions, like, the Barneses of the world who can perform any way you want. You just, you say, Barnes, and then he goes. And you say, stop, and he'll stop. I mean,
most people won't do that. Most people won't do that.
Yeah, it is rare. And that's another issue you'll find, Mark, is as an interview, I run into this. There are long form people and there are short form people. And you're around a lot of people that, especially in the politics, they're short form people. They go in for a hit.
Yeah,
they have a 3-minute seconds, or 3 minutes on Fox or whatever. But then they're used to wrapping everything up into a soundbite, getting them to expound and to speak openly. You're kind of like having to pry. Give me a little more. Why do you say that? What do you think of that? What is going on? So it's different techniques and different styles. Steve McMahon, but when they release the remaining JFK files, we'll see page after page of solid redaction.
That's not true, because I mean, we've seen tons and tons of files come out under Trump and then also under Biden that were not heavily redacted. Some things are still redacted, but there's so many files that came out under both administrations, and I'm still not done looking at them. And many people are not done looking at them. That's how many files came out. All of this stuff that, there's tens of thousands of files that came out under both administrations. So there's more to look at, put it that way.
Well, and also, even if they are redacted, you brought up the one with E. Howard Hunt as an example.
That was fun.
It's redacted his name out.
Yeah,
he's an individual who's written 40-something books. It's like, well, oh, geez, there's at least 70 of no, wait, there's only one guy.
Right. So it's funny, because you can get around the redaction by reading on and then figuring it out what the redaction's about, is what Eric's referring to. About there was one about E. Howard Hunt that was redacted, but you could quickly figure out by the body of the rest of it. They will simply redact a name because somebody told them to redact a name, but you can read what they're talking about and figure it out.
Right. And how would the redactors know?
They don't know.
They're just admin clerks and just boom, 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 boom. But you can go and you can say, okay, well, this individual was in this place, this place, this place, this place in these years. Who was assigned in these locations? And
some of them are not even that complicated. Like this E. Howard Hunt one. Some of them are not even that complicated. Yeah. Because they'd have to redact everything, and most times they don't bother.
100%. 556 Pew Pew is back with 20 America's Untold Stories memberships. Thank you very much for getting on the board. Les Evans, $9.99. Thank you. Jardin Monet with Australian.
Australian?
Yep, I believe it's Australian. Michael DePaul, can't Bondi appoint Gaetz as the DOJ prosecutor?
He doesn't want to do it. He doesn't.
But that would be below him. I mean, he's a congressman. Everything's a downgrade. There's got to be a certain level of a.
The only thing he would accept, which I don't think is going to be offered, is the Florida Senate seat opposite Rick Scott. Other than that, I think he's heading to Newsmax.
Yeah, he doesn't. Somebody reached out and they said that,
he has wanted to run for governor, so he could go to Newsmax for a couple of years and then run for the governorship of Florida. That's the only thing I could think of.
Well, he was going to run before when they screwed him over with the initial investigation.
So people do go to TV, especially in sports, especially in commentating, and then go back onto the usually coaching or managing in baseball. There are many stories where managers and coaches have gone into the booth and then gone back into the field. That could happen with Gaetz. But I think he's going to get a paycheck from Newsmax. It's just my hunch.
You know, I just thought of something earlier too. What if Elon did buy MSNBC, and what if Gaetz was a main anchor there?
Yeah, that could be, but that's going to take a while. I think he's looking for some quicker money than to be out of the limelight for that long. But
he's
who
like
knows?
Tucker. He doesn't need money.
No, I know. No, I just think he wants to be in the limelight. I don't think it's money at all. I think it's really about attention.
It could be. It could be. I don't know. You know,
we could do a Tucker thing on, you know, where he's on that space. You know,
I mean, a lot of them do. I mean, was it? I listen to Megyn Kelly from time to time, and she's having a great time talking about how her one show on YouTube, gets more views than all of NBC, who fired her.
Well, I pointed out to a friend that many of our shows get more viewers than MSNBC in multiple slots. I mean, they released the numbers of MSNBC, and we beat them, which is weird, but it's true mathematically.
Yeah, and she mentioned, I had never heard this term before. She said that they have something called slashies. And what that means is if a show is getting under 50,000 viewers, they don't bother with the count. They just put a slash.
I'll tell you something. I had a friend who worked for the Nielsen's out here in LA, and he told me that on many nights, Craig Ferguson used to be the host after Letterman. The show was owned by Letterman. But Craig Ferguson, the Scottish comedian, had a show, and there were many nights that there were no viewers in LA, zero. And he said when it's under a certain amount, like 1,000 or whatever it was, they just had to put zero. So when you looked at his ratings, which he showed me the ratings, my friend, it just said zero. I said, somebody must be watching it. And he says, yeah, if it's too low, we just put zero.
And I think
it's
that's
similar to that. Yeah.
But sad. But either way. But she brought that up because Scarborough is now, I think they're at low 70s.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, he's heading for a slash.
What's that guy's name? Mary Elber, or there's another guy there, Elber, I think his name is, or Ari Melber. He had under 30,000 many shows, under 30, which is really, really low.
That is terrible. By the way,
that's national, bro. I mean, that's insane. That's insane.
Well, I know, and it's hilarious because you have the Tim Pools of the world and the Megyn Kellys of the world just crowing. Like, you know, Tim Pool loves talking about. He's like, I get more in the demo than they get entire ratings. And
we've had video clips that do better than Ari Melba.
Yeah, and it's not saying we're great. It's saying they're not bad. No. Just so people understand, we're not going, oh my God, we're so brilliant.
No, they're not very good.
No, they're not. Steve McMahon, but we need the view. It's an obvious confession by projection, giving fodder for ridicule of the hateful left. Oh, there's plenty. We've got libs of TikTok that we can fill the void.
Yeah, I mean, I would threaten through the FCC, which now has been taken over by the Republican chair. I would begin to file action against ABC for the View, saying it's a political show, and there has to be in-kind payback to the opposition, and add up the hours that it's been on, and make ABC pay for equal time, because this is now a political hatchet job show. On not a cable channel. This is a network. It's a network, my friend. And I think the FCC has to hold their feet to the flames.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize that, you know, ABC, NBC, etc., are network or broadcast shows. Yeah. And by the network, it literally, you could put an antenna up on your house and you receive the signal. Big difference. If it's a cable show like Fox News, has a lot more leverage because they're only available via cable.
Yeah.
And, you know, think about that for a second. They're kicking everybody's ass and you can't get them over the air.
Dude, there was a number. There, Jesse Waters, I think it was. I was looking at this in the numbers. One night he had 769,000 viewers versus Anderson Cooper at 80,000, and whoever the hell they had on MSNBC, I forget, had like 22,000. I mean, the numbers from Fox are just quadrupling. I mean, not even quadruple, like 6 times, 7 times higher than them combined, than CNN and MSNBC combined, Eric.
Yeah, you know what you just made me think of? Again, he's a douche, but I wonder if Chris Cuomo is getting more numbers on his podcast than he did at CNN. He might be getting more. Not only is he getting more
numbers, he's owning all the money that comes in.
Yeah. Well, he's on News Nation too, and I'm wondering if News Nation he's pulling the same numbers as CNN. I wouldn't be surprised if he was.
Yeah, I wonder how that network's doing. News Nation. It's
I don't know. I wish them well.
Yeah. It's kind of balanced, and then it goes off balance, and then it just gets off the rails and gets on the rails. The same thing with Newsmax. I mean, all of them, they're never going to fit everybody's point of view. Who's out there, but that's all right.
Oh, I hear it. Snakes says, thanks, guys, with $10.
Snakes, way to go. Snakes, bro. Way to go. Snakes on a plane.
Boo Boo Bing Bang. I was in U.S. during 45, and it was amazing. Cheap gas, tax cuts, and no wars.
Yeah.
Moved out during the Crazy Joe's time, and now that 47 is coming in hot, I'm coming back to my home in Virginia.
Wow. Way to go.
From Australia.
It's a great story. Ellen DeGeneres doing the opposite, heading off to England and not coming back.
I know it is.
On the Queen Mary. And she's taking the Queen Mary to England with her
queen.
With her queen there and not coming back.
That was
Who's going to miss Ellen DeGeneres? What part of society is going to go, dear God, we've come down to this. Ellen DeGeneres fleeing the country. Who's next? Drew Barrymore?
Nobody's going to miss her. What was so funny is that Piers Morgan replied to that saying, no. And I commented on his saying, can you also take Harry back and take Meghan with them?
Yeah, they're going to go too. I mean, these people are going to beg to get in here. Meanwhile, you got to see the caravan in Mexico goes all the way down to the bottom of Mexico now. And they're just running into the country. They're actually in, what's it called when you're jogging in place or in the military, halftime, or when you're just,
okay. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah. And they're literally, the line is moving so fast, Hunley, from the tip of Mexico, where they are assembled. And then they just go, keep the line moving right into LA, right into Dallas, right into Maricopa County, before Trump gets in there. I mean, something's got to give. We can't have 2 months of uninterrupted mass illegal immigration. I mean, because this line is now running into the country. The news stories last night and today, the drug cartels who are running the immigration, also the illegal immigration, are telling them, this is your last chance, and collecting money that's going through the roof for the drug cartels. And these people are literally running through the border at this point, 1,500 at a time, to get into the United States. Now,
we do have a National Guard, folks. I mean, deploying them on every border.
Yeah, I mean, they just have to do something. These governors, obviously, Arizona's not going to lift a finger. California's not going to lift a finger, but Abbott, is going to. Abbott ordered today the entire state cut ties with Chinese businesses, which was a good move on the part of Abbott. He's done a lot of good down in Texas. Paxton is down there. There's a lot of good things, but they got problems down there too. I mean, this border thing is not their only problem. They've got blue cities that are out of control down there in Dallas and some other places. Yeah, Austin, which is the capital. I mean, they got their own issues here.
Houston is.
But you know what? You know what? No one has said. And I saw Homan's been on making the rounds. This is the new border czar, and he's a multi-generational New York City cop. Goes back to his grandfather or great grandfather. I'm not sure. And he talked about just flooding the zone with men to arrest these guys. Mm-hmm. But every single one of these people, when asked, what are they going to do? Are you willing to arrest the people who are doing this? The people who are ordering this. No one will bite the bullet and say, yes, we're going to arrest so-and-so for obstruction of justice. They dance around this question every single time by saying, we got a lot of men, we're going to go after them, this and that. But no one will say what they're going to do with the obstruction. In other words, if the chief of police of LA says, you're not getting into that jail, push is going to come to shove. And that is obstruction of justice.
No,
I mean, nobody will address this. I don't understand why
maybe wait and see, and then when they
he
do
keeps
it,
saying wait and see. I know.
No. But I'm
right.
saying, Trump isn't in office yet, and I know you hate the wait and see, but in fairness, boom, all of a sudden you're locking up the LA chief. Wait. See if they're actually in front of it. Let them bluster, let them talk all they want.
The mayor up in Boston said, we will physically block you. I have ordered my people to physically stop you from doing this. That's obstruction of justice. I don't know what else it is. You're physically and sending out emails to obstruct federal justice. That's what they're doing. You're an elected official. You're sending out an email, sending out messages on media and emails and text messages to the people below you to block in any way, shape, or form the federal enforcement of immigration laws. Okay, all right. That's obstruction of justice. Somebody's got to pick them up.
Well, what I'm saying is pick them up when they do it.
Okay.
I'm saying when they break the law, then you can prosecute them.
But I'm saying if you send out an email saying, I'm ordering you to break the law, which is essentially what she's doing, I think that is the evidence right there of breaking the law.
I guess I'm around too many lawyers. I don't know if you can really do anything about it because that's like a threat. Like nobody is rounding anybody up now.
Yeah.
So she's not.
Well, nobody's in power now anyway. I mean, obviously.
Exactly, because Trump isn't in power. So
right. Well, right. I'm talking about January, February, March.
Exactly.
This coming quarter.
And as soon as he goes in, I hope it's like, okay, boom. As soon as they do it, arrest him at the same time. Do a crackdown at the same time. And
is it illegal if she did it, the emails when he wasn't in power, but the act happens when he is in power? That's a question.
Well, you could show that as an intent.
Yeah.
I'm sure to build a case, and she'd be like, oh no, I accidentally did it. It's like, no, we have your email stating that you wanted this and this and this.
All right. Well, let's see what happens. You're right. Let's see what happens because the push that's coming to shove is going to be in the city jails. If they take my word for it, this is where it's going to come down. They're going to show up and they're either going to allow access or block access to these institutions. And that is Rikers Island. That's the House of Detention. That is the LA City Jail, the men's house of detention here. They are threatening to block them. That's where push comes to shove. So what do you do? What do you physically do, Eric, in your mind?
In my mind, then
in your mind, they show up, ICE agents to the jail, got a list of 114 men that we know are inside there. And they say, we're denying you access. Now what? Play it out.
Okay. I make a phone call. The President Trump, this is what we're trying to do. He gets hold of the National Guard. And then they surround the prison. They go in and they take the warden, lock him up. They take all individuals, lock them up. You still have to guard the prisoners who are there. So you preferably have an MP force or something like that. So you have law enforcement at the same time. And then you arrest all the people who are obstructing. You go find the 114, and then you just take them out. I mean, that to me would be a way to do that.
We're going to have to figure out a way to do this because actually Pam Bondi's got to be involved in the thing that you just described. Bondi's got to do something with a warrant. Federal and U.S. Marshals have to be involved, in my humble opinion. Because they're the federal police force that has to do what you're describing. And I think that somebody in some position of power who's ordered them has got to be the person arrested. It could be the warden, I guess, if he came.
Well, I mean, he'd be part of it. Who gives a shit? It's his prison, so it goes down the line. Let's say the mayor tells him to.
Well, these are county jails, just to be.
Okay, so the sheriff.
These are county jails. Yeah.
Okay, so that'd be a sheriff, and if the sheriff said it, well, then okay, the sheriff. But then if you are breaking the law, I don't care if you're following an order or not. You know you're breaking the law. you could be potentially arrested too. You know,
well, that's what I'm getting at. That's what I'm getting at. That's my whole reason for discussing this, is because I believe that these handpicked enforcement officials will be in very, very dangerous waters for themselves if they're carrying out the political wishes of their overlords, which is what's happening in the major cities right now. These handpicked, this guy, Adams in New York, and I sent an email to Al the other day about it. He picked the head of the garbage department, the sanitation department, to be the new chief of police, a woman who has never been, you didn't follow this. The mayor has picked the head of the sanitation department to be the chief of police of New York.
A former cop, get that in mind too, has picked the sanitation person to be that.
But wow. I think he's doing it to make her the fall guy if this shit push comes to shove, is my point in this whole discussion. The woman here, Karen Bass, has picked a guy who's a conservative Republican to be the LAPD chief of police. And I said, why on what day did she wake up and say, I'm going to pick a white Scotsman to be the chief of police of LAPD? What planet did she fall off of? And I think what they're doing is, this is just my opinion, they're setting up fall guys for what's coming.
Now, but keep this in mind too.
Yeah.
She could be setting up her fall guy all day long. And then Honan and his crew, whatever, show up, and the chief says, after you.
To her.
No, just open the door.
Right. Well,
he might just literally, they might show up with the forces.
He issued a hostage video moments after he was appointed. He issued a hostage video saying he will fight off all federal attempts to get these illegal aliens that are in LA City. So, and then he said, now let's move on. So in other words, he was forced to read this statement, which I think gave him the job here. And I think you're going to hear the same thing out of the sanitation woman in New York on Monday, that she will protect, defend, and blah, 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 our community neighbors who are living in the Roosevelt Hotel at all costs. They're going to make them read these statements, trying, maybe correct, like you're saying, ineffectually, to be the buffer between their political overlords and the street.
Yeah, I mean, I always like to see what happens when push comes to shove.
I like to predict push coming to shove, so that's more fun for me. But yeah, I mean, it's fun to predict these things, and I see the trend of where it's going.
I predict them rolling over. I predict
which side? Which side?
Oh, like in LA, the cop. Hey, screw that mayor. What's she going to do about it?
Interesting.
Are you going to fire me tomorrow? What are you going to do?
What does he care? Yeah, what does he care? Didn't have
exactly. He got the position. He reads a stupid letter, and then when they come, he's like, "Oh, sorry, I had to." The law states that. I swear to protect the law and the Constitution, not you, Mayor.
What does Nate Hochman do, who's being sworn in next week as District Attorney of Los Angeles? Does he help? This is the guy who endorsed Kamala Harris, who's now the biggest loser in American political history. Does he help the feds now as a Republican former prosecutor in the administration of George Bush? I mean, does this guy help or hurt or block? He also has power in the city, is what I'm saying.
Sure, I think he'll help.
Okay.
And by the way, Karen Bass, I keep thinking about the Olympics. Yeah. And I keep thinking about Newsom and cleaning up and and I mean, putting him up there so he could be the quote fall guy. It could be that, but it could also be a double blind that she put him up knowing he's going to have to crack down. But then she could say, I trusted him and he betrayed us. That son of a bitch, he betrayed us. It could be some bullshit like that. And she could say, I did. I ordered him. Damn it! I ordered him, and really cop out in the end. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't trust anybody. I think they're super weak half the time.
Well, we'll see what happens, but I think you're onto something here.
Alex Daviduke is saying, I can't say the guy's name, but Brzezinski is a best example of why no U.S. official should have dual citizenship. He was really good about going after the Soviets in Afghanistan to get retribution for the Red Army, World War II in Poland.
Right.
And this idiot lost Iran.
Yeah, he's not. It's pretty accurate right there. I mean, I haven't thought about Brzezinski in a while, but yeah, that's kind of interesting. And speaking of New York prisons, I don't know if you're following as closely as I am the Diddy story going out of New York. What happened with Diddy also happened to the Menendez brothers. They concocted a phony raid on his cell, and they took his legal documents and gave it to the prosecution, Eric. The judge saw through this immediately. Diddy's lawyers went into court and said the judge said this is egregious, ordered them to destroy it, and to preserve all videotapes of them raiding his cell. I think Diddy's about to be freed just because of the overzealous, insane prosecution that can't seem to not violate the civil rights of people they're trying to take down. I mean, it's just their fervor in these areas. There's one judge who saw through this, luckily for Diddy. And again, I'm not defending what Diddy did or didn't do. All I'm saying is that the violation of these people's civil rights are egregious. To take his legal documents and turn them over, they obviously the phones are tapped. He's talking to his kids on the phone, and they're coming up with phony transcripts of what he said. I mean, the things they're doing in the prison system once they get you are so egregiously insane and Epstein-esque. I think things are going to have to change in the Bureau of Prisons, is what I'm getting at, as another level.
Juicy just got his.
I know, but what does that mean, though? That kind of was accurate. I mean, remember?
No, it was a good call.
It was a good call. I agree with you. Yeah, I agree with you.
And it's funny because it's essentially the same thing happened with Cosby.
Yes, that's true.
And I think it was the correct decision. You know, I don't like that the guy's a hoaxer and he got off, but the truth is she came up with a bullshit thing for him. He performed the tasks that she said, so therefore there's a contract. He fulfilled it. He paid the money, did the community service. So because he did that, you can't give him his hours back. You can't, No,
I agree. I mean, the same thing with Epstein. The same thing with Epstein. I mean, Epstein, part of his plea deal when Dershowitz and these others were his attorneys in Florida was to become an FBI informant. And he did complete that assignment. He had a letter from the FBI saying he completed his task for them, being an FBI informant, and gave them names that they wanted of other people who had done similar things, and was extremely helpful in the conviction of fill in the blank, whoever these people were. And then they went after Epstein again in New York and took him and put him in Rikers Island out of the blue 10 years later. He'd already done his time. He'd already served for the crime, did the FBI bidding, got a letter from the FBI saying he was done. And it was David Boies, the former Clinton attorney, representing a ton of former models who were now in their 40s, who wanted a payday, that started this whole thing for Epstein, that is. And maybe the Clintons were behind that. I'm not sure. But David Boies was a former Clinton attorney. So you could look in that direction. But
Boies also was the guy who took out Microsoft and Bill Gates.
Yeah. I mean, Boies is also someone who represented the Dodger owner's wife when she was suing her husband for divorce, and she was going to run for president here in LA. There's a lot of that. And by the way, Ohtani got the MVP yesterday. Thank you, Japanese Ohtani, for carrying the Dodgers to the promised land. Unanimous MVP in the National League, rightfully so. Just wanted to get that in there because I love Ohtani.
All right.
I didn't care about Ohtani on other teams, but I care about him now.
All right. Kirk Burkhalter, Texas governor has the manpower to remove illegals without the army. A better understanding with Mexico is not necessarily an open border.
I don't understand this. Has the manpower to remove illegals without the? What is the manpower then? I don't understand.
I think the argument, because I didn't know about Rand Paul's wanting more work visas. I thought he was concerned about U.S. military on American soil.
It was both. It was both. Yeah, it was both.
Which, by the way, I kind of am a little, that's like CIA doing shit on American soil. I get that part. We have law enforcement wings and people like that, et cetera. Or National Guard, which is appropriate military on American soil. So I understood that part. The other part, no, I'm not in favor of the work visas at all. So that's why I knew the one, but not the other.
I don't care about either one of them. I don't care that this is an invasion. This is an invasion. I mean, what if there was Chinese with guns And you said, well, the military, we got police. I mean, the Chinese have come in and they've got guns. Well, you know what? 80,000 Chinese men, 80,000 men of Chinese of army age have come into the country, and guess what? Now they have guns. What do you want to do about it, Eric? What do you want to do? You want to call the sheriff? Is that going to help you with the 80,000 military age Chinese males? And I'm just picking out this one.
Well, you got a better example that is actually on point with the gangs, the Venezuelan gang.
All right, let's go with that.
But that's still a law enforcement issue. Not
when does it become a military issue then?
Well, when you have an actual invading force.
Should they announce it? Should they take an ad in the fucking New York Times and announce that we're invading? I mean, is that what it takes to get the military off their asses? What I'm saying is, I think the Chinese, this is just my opinion, the Chinese who have come in unarmed, are now armed. And they're in the United States. Nobody disputes this any longer. Now, what do you do with them? This is a military force that has surreptitiously entered the United States in the past 3 years, maybe 130,000. There's estimates as high. I've seen an estimate of high of 175,000 Chinese age military men. And the first thing they do is go to a gun store and get a gun, or they buy a gun. Now they're armed. Now they're working for the Chinese Communist Party. They're not doing anything. What is our plan? I understand the gang thing is law enforcement. I agree with you. On that. What do you do about these other things, though?
Well, I'm saying that they are law enforcement as well. If they form into a unit, like military units, then now you're talking a military action or something like that.
Do they have to have uniforms? Do they have to wear a uniform?
No, they don't have to have uniforms, but they need to be actually in a militaristic manner. It's different training, it's different disciplines, everything else. I mean, right now, it's a law enforcement issue, just like the gangs.
Right,
it's a law enforcement
issue. This is all hypothetical, obviously. You and I just spitballing, but what do you do in a physical invasion and you're here domestically being invaded? Let's say we're invaded.
If you are being invaded, like, okay, let's say Canada just gets really pissed off at us because, they're a little crazy up there.
Right.
Then that would be absolutely a military, force to hold and to block. So a military is either going to be an incursion, like the military, like the Marines, you're going to send them in.
Right, but I'm saying
or it's going to be a defensive maneuver to hold an area.
What do you do defensively to hold an area?
You would station the army there. You would set up fortifications, locations. But again,
why can't you do that now? Why can't you do that?
Well, what are you going to do, Mark? All over the country. It's
the border, right at the border.
Well,
they're flooding in. It's like 15,000 a day now.
Right. Well,
what do a National Guard not going to do it?
I literally said we had a National Guard that they could do that. We have a National Guard.
Biden's not going to do anything. The Army's not going to do anything, obviously.
No. But the governors control the Guard. Unless the president takes over, technically the governors can call the National Guard, just like they can here, whether it's a storm or whatever it is, they can call the National Guard,
what if
the National Guard and put them on the border.
What if they flood in through Katie Hobbs's border? She's blue, and she says, come on in, tons more. I got to get all you people in here. I don't give a shit what happens. I mean, could the National Guard go into other states or?
No.
Right. So that's a problem.
Unless the president does it. So here's the thing.
I know.
If the guy in charge right now of the administration lets it happen, if the governors also let it happen, that is correct. As far as I know, constitutionally speaking, I don't know that we can do anything.
Okay, let's say Chinese Communist division of Chinese Communists come up from Mexico and they begin, I don't know, coming into let's just hypothetically, a uniformed, let's make it uniform.
Okay.
Division of Chinese soldiers starts marching through Mexico City, and then we see them coming, and he decides to do nothing, Biden. And he says, I don't care about that. They're not going to do anything. Whatever he says, he doesn't say anything. He doesn't do anything. These Chinese communists in uniform from the Red Army start marching in, carrying their guns. They're not even doing anything.
Yes.
Carrying their guns, and they're marching into California. Newsom says, welcome. Katie Hobbs says, welcome. What can we do as a nation?
Well, that's why we have a 25th Amendment. Hopefully,
okay. So you're saying it's an administrative problem?
It is. It's an impeachment. Okay. Because you're literally saying the whole chain of command is saying we're okay with it.
Well, it's essentially what's happening. That's why I'm making. I'm not exaggerating.
I understand that, and that's why, thank God, we fired the current guy.
Well, the current guy is still in there for 60 days of complete anarchy, though.
Unfortunately, yes. And speaking of anarchy, his working on getting World War III happening.
Yeah, but that's not happening in Brooklyn, or L.A. So I'm a little bit I agree that it's an egregious situation in Ukraine and Russia, no doubt about it. But there's stuff happening right here that is egregious in our own domestic capacity as a nation right now. They are going to flood this country so bad, like you think 3 years has been bad? Mm-hmm. This last 60 days, they are going to open the spigots and let the entire planet Earth in here. Mark my words, they are coming like there's no tomorrow. And there is no tomorrow, because January 20th is the end of their run. You are going to see maybe another million coming in 60 days. And there's nothing anybody could possibly do. Eric and I just spitballing.
Well, I mean, you can. Abbott can protect his own border.
Right. But they'll just move over to the Arizona border, or California.
No. Okay,
you're right.
Well, hopefully, everybody's on their own. While we have Biden in the White House, every state is on their own. And if the states look, it's a fact.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
I don't know what to tell you.
It's mind-boggling. It really is mind-boggling.
Yeah.
I'm slightly exaggerating with the Chinese communist example, for effect, but nevertheless, that's essentially what's happening. I mean, these are sleeper cells that could be coming in here and I would do it myself if I was the guy from China. What do you mean? They're letting us in? Okay, give me 200,000 men. We'll spread them out, put them all over the country. I would do it. Yeah. I would do it in a heartbeat. Of course. I mean, there's not. What do you mean they're not checking at the border? I swear to you, they're not checking anyone at the border. Come on, let's get some men, put them in Central America. I mean, for the love of God, I mean, you got to round up these Chinese guys too.
I agree, but. Unfortunately, we do have this window of time that we're kind of.
Homan's got his work cut out for him. I mean, he said that he made him the border czar to avoid the administrative work of running ICE, which was how he explained it. So I could just focus on this overall mass deportation.
That's why I'm so confused about Bobby Kennedy.
Yeah,
as HHS, because you think ICE was a lot of.
No, it's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah. I don't know. Like, what super administrative skill does Bobby Kennedy have to run these three agencies from above, FDA, CDC, and the other ones? I mean, it's an administrative nightmare.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, he'd be better off as a consultant.
Health czar.
Or a health czar, yeah.
And then you don't need to get him through Congress.
Well, maybe if it fails, they will make him the health czar. But again, you're going to expend a lot of political capital going to war over these issues. I mean, do you really need that fight?
I don't know.
It's just a question of political capital, Eric.
I agree. And every time somebody doesn't get through, he's a little bit weaker.
Yeah. Well, I remember Clinton got 5 that were kicked back, and it affected Clinton. It does take away your political power. It does wound you. It does make you look bad. Anybody who thinks this is some sort of 4D chess is out of their minds. This is not how presidential confirmation politics is played.
And it's also, it's bad too, because he's having to fight his own party.
Yeah.
And that's really, really a big challenge.
As I said, I'm getting text messages raising money for the Democrats because they took down Matt Gaetz. If they take down another one, I'm going to get 1 million more text messages to raise money for the Democrat. Not that I'm a Democrat, but they're going to use that as another scalp fundraising. ACLU is already suing the administration before it even gets into power. They're already suing them over the roundup of illegal aliens. And so it's for them to raise money, is why I'm mentioning it. It's for the ACLU to raise money. But these are fundraising devices. It's almost like giving ammunition to your enemy's army. This is their ammunition, is the money.
Yeah, no, I agree. All right. Steve McMahon said, real reason is if Larange did the justified retribution, he would look like Stalin and give the left fodder for calling him Hitler/Stalin.
Right. That's my point.
They're going to call him that anyway.
That's my point. Who gives a shit? This is a one-term lame duck president who still thinks that the New York Times is going to love him if he sits down with Maggie Haberman one more time. I mean, I love Trump, don't get me wrong, but there is his whole worldview is the art of the deal. Never get rid of somebody, whether he's the dictator of North Korea or anybody else, because you may be able to convince them to do a deal. So he's not into retribution. There's got to be someone else, a Bannon-like character in his sphere of influence who is willing to be the hammer. If you're not the hammer, you got to hire the hammer. And that could be, I don't know, Kash Patel, or it could be a Bannon kind of guy, or maybe this Pam Bondi. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, or a combination. Dick Dickerson said, I spent a decade studying religion and its effect. I'm a Gnostic Christian like the Knights Templar were. I also believe they are destroyed, not for heresy, but for finding the evil of the Church of England.
Oh, wow.
Eye
Interesting.
for an eye.
Wow.
Okay.
Interesting, Knights Templar.
Yeah, Dick Dickerson's a Templar.
Yeah.
Watchnut. Mark, do you have the Jesse Ventura JFK Assassination book? If not, I have a copy for you.
That's okay. I don't need it. It's lightweight stuff. And Jesse Ventura is not really on my radar.
It's probably like a Roger Stone, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it's like one of these Roger Stone. It's a good coffee table, a book to read in the dentist office, but that's not a real research book.
All right. Kate, love your shows on 60s and 70s bands. Any more in the works?
What 60s and 70s bands did we do? We did an Elliott
Strange
Smith.
Loves.
Oh, the Strange Loves. Well, that was a weird. The Strange Loves was a unique story.
Grateful Dead.
Oh yeah, we did do the Dead. That's right.
We're gonna do Dylan someday. I mean,
yeah,
that is on the list.
Dylan's on the list. That's about the biggest rock and roll thing that we're gonna do.
All right. Alex Saviduke said also Brzezinski, in partnership with Saudi Arabia, created Afghan Mujahideen, Al Qaeda, and modern Islamic movements. Without Brzezinski, no 9/11.
Yeah, he's right. Alex is right.
Radical Islam.
Absolutely correct. The damage that Brzezinski did should ban her from ever getting a job in media. I mean, if that's your Nepo link, hey, I work for Hitler. Give me a job. Hitler's my uncle. Can I work in New York Times?
Well, you get a job there. I mean, New York Times.
Hey, Stalin was my cousin. Stalin was my cousin. Can I work there?
I don't know. John Hyde said, why do they always wear Adidas?
It wasn't Adidas. It was my mistake. It was a thing called a Vila or something, an obscure sneaker I'd never heard of. It wasn't.
By the way, I've been corrected on that. Apparently, it's Adidas or something.
What?
Yeah, that it's the Das brothers, Adi Das, or so. I did not know it. I always
never heard that pronounced like that. I never heard that pronounced like that.
Goose Toots, love the free flow dialogue style. You two rock.
Well, we try not to talk that much, so when we come to the show, we have something to talk about. But that not being true either, because we do talk during the week exactly like this. This is exactly how we talk on the phone. So we're not making anything up here. This is just now there's a camera. Doesn't really
we try
matter.
to curse slightly less, but
yeah.
While we're here, I don't know. Al Gonzalez was planning to go to Dallas conference, but caught the flu. Have a couple buddies there, and they said folks are talking about you both. Hopefully,
yeah. Well, Hunley got jury duty, and we'll probably go next year. There's a thing that I want to do there involving something. I do have a plan, but it was too much. It was just too quick, and Eric's got some stuff to do.
Yeah, the jury duty we were actually planning to possibly do it, but the jury duty is like, I barely got out of the jury duty to go to our meetup on election day.
Yeah.
And, David Mark, you need to watch the speech given by the new FCC chair. He was talking federal RICO charges against media.
I did see that. Yes, I didn't see it. I've read about that. That's kind of what I was referring to, David. That this guy may be a take no prisoners leader of the FCC. He's taken abuse from these other douchebags. It's a 3-2 split. Now it's the other way around with him as the chair. But I hope he follows through on what he's been saying. Because you can't allow them to slink off into the shadows. They will come back the next time, God forbid, they're ever in power again. There's got to be legal stakes driven into their illegal hearts.
Well, and that's the other part that I want to talk about or mention. Trump did a great job with administrative actions and, remain in Mexico and things like that. Mm-hmm. This time, though, he needs to make it a freaking law. It's like, it's great, it's an admin action. Yeah. But then you need to get it through. You have Congress now. Get that shit as a law.
Okay.
Because
listen,
otherwise, the next guy comes along and says, scrap that. It's all gone.
The way they operated in Southern California and the way they've operated in Michigan and Wisconsin and up in other parts of the country, in 2 years, if this thing goes unabated, they will take back the House and the Senate in 2 years. That gives them 48. literally 2 years to pull this off, and you could look at it as 104 weeks, or you could look at it as 24 months. But the reality of it is, if we cannot stop them with federal legislation from having long counts on federal elections, and I'll just be specific about this. A lot of people are confused about this. The state of California, and I'm just using California as an example, is constitutionalized in their states, in their state constitution, the counting of ballots for 30 days after an election, which is fine for a mayoral race. It's fine for their state governor's races. But they're using this system for congressional federal elections of Congress and the Senate. This has to be made unconstitutional. We need legislation to stop that. Listen to me carefully, or we're going to lose the House and we're going to lose the Senate in 2 years. This is just a fact, and they will begin impeaching him again in 2 years. They have a system in multiple states. Arizona is part of it. Arizona gets 13 days to do their duty, their evil duty. California gets 30 days to do it, 3 weeks to 30 days, and which is fine if you want to put that in your constitution about your state elections. They're using them on federal elections, folks. That should be illegal and unconstitutional. Pam Bondi has got to deal with that coming right out of the gate, or whoever is the person who goes to the Supreme Court on behalf of the administration. I forget the title. They have to deal with this. This cannot allow to go till a week before the election in 2 years, which is how these cats usually roll. We'll hear about this in August of 2026, and everybody would be shocked, but it's got to be done now. I just wanted to get that out there.
All right. Pat M. Here's to JFK. I was 10 years old and promised myself I'd figure out who killed him. Thanks to Eric and Mark, I'm almost there. Well, let us know. And of course, D-State is changing narrative to JFK and Khrushchev to close Russia, Russia, Russia. When will it change? Yeah.
Well, there again, our style of intelligence operations is to personalize the enemy as opposed to, and this is a deep CIA has been doing this a long time. It's to personalize who the enemy is, whether it's Saddam Hussein or whether it's Bashar in Syria or Putin. We have an intelligence style of personalizing the bad guy as if it was a Hollywood film, if that makes any sense. Not an accident. It's discussed internally in documents how to deal with this as a type of propaganda. It's to take the leader of a country, and that could be, what's his name from Panama, who we put in jail. We went down and got him out of there. Noriega. We take a guy and we make him into, the guy could be our friend 5 minutes before this, but once we decide to take them out, we do a job on them where they make them the bad guy in a Bond film. That is a style that no other country has. No intelligence service does this except us. They try to do it with Netanyahu. They're still trying to do it with the ICC, charging him with war crimes. The style has got to change. We can't continue to run our intelligence services like this. We're running this like a Hollywood film with a bad guy. And you saw what happened with Putin and Russia is the reason I'm mentioning it, who now has a 75% approval rating, which has gone down from, I think, a high of like 83 at one point, but it's at 75 right now. So you saw what they did with all these different dictators around the world.
Sure. Saddam
was probably the best. Saddam was probably the best example of that.
Salty vet or Bin Laden.
Bin Laden, yeah, but he wasn't a government official, was he?
No. He was just somebody we trained.
Right.
And do our nightmare. But yeah, Saddam is my favorite. Prop him up. Hero and
prop him up, take him down.
Salty vet dad. Military needs to be ready when the cartels attack to protect their business. Arizona's going to let them in because we know they're connected.
Yeah, we are discussing here the past couple of weeks just how connected, quote unquote, the cartels are to the state of Arizona. I am starting to believe it is a complete narco state. And Eric mentioned something I never thought of, that they own lower level people in the government that they have on their payroll. And that could be administrative people all the way down the line, and control a state through these lower level officials in state government. That is something I never thought of. And it may be true that Arizona is a narco state at this point. And by the way, what is this relationship with McCain's daughter and Tulsi Gabbard. What is the deal here?
Well, Cindy McCain, or no, sorry, Meghan McCain. Meghan McCain. She also hangs out with Mark Halperin. You'll notice that she keeps popping in there, and she's got these weird little connections.
Well, Halperin's not in the Trump administration.
No.
But she's the godmother of her children.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a little weird, Eric.
Mm-hmm. She's but she's inserted into a lot of places. She's also tight with the Biden family. Remember, McCain and Biden were friends.
It reminds me of William F. Buckley being the godfather to E. Howard Hunt's children.
Could be. But they were both honorable.
Yeah.
Mostly.
As far as you could throw them. Yeah.
Yeah. David Smith, Blackjack Pershing was sent after Pancho Villa after he raided American towns.
So was Smedley Butler. I mean, he went down into remember, Eric? I mean, it's in the episode we talked about Butler going down into Mexico to fight, I think, Pancho Villa.
Pancho got around. John Hyde said, Sam the Sham needs to be looked at on your band special.
Sam the Sham and the Pharaohs? Is that really? Dude, I never thought of how much information is there on Sam the Sham and the
How many
Pharaohs?
songs does he even have?
I mean, he's got Wooly Bully, and I think that's about it. Oh my God, Sam the Sham and the Pharaohs.
We've got one more Rumble rant, or a Rumble rant. Am Drum 12 said, yes, retribution. Trump needs to go balls to the wall for the next 2 years. Gaetz needs to be appointed special counsel to go after the evildoers.
Okay.
That's fine. You know, Gaetz.
Eric's going to not like this.
I don't care. I mean, Gaetz can be on Newsmax or whatever he is. I don't want to get so short-sighted saying that Gaetz is the only person who could go after people. You've got Cash Patel,
you're right, but
you've got Navarro, you've got other people.
He was so MAGA, though, Eric. I mean, he was the leader of the MAGA force. I mean, this is a guy who was good-looking with great hair, who could speak well, had a sense of humor. They couldn't 100%. Get any dirt on him, so they made it up. He's a rising star in the Republican MAGA party. It's hard to lose that guy because of some phony trumped up sex charges.
Yeah, I mean,
it's just a tough loss.
I agree. I mean, again, I want to give, but I just don't want to overlook other people.
Oh, no.
Like Sean Spicer brought up a good point. He was talking about the announcements and stuff. He goes, what I'm curious about, he said, there's a lot of names I haven't heard. And he mentioned specifically Navarro. Where's he going to go? Doesn't he have a job? What about these other, so he's kind of wired in too. There's a lot of Trump loyalists.
Yeah.
Nobody's heard anything about them.
I know.
So
I'd like to hear more about them.
All right. Craig's Oddspot said, Mark, do you have the Yankee Cowboy War?
I do.
Carl Oglesby, Dallas to Watergate.
I do.
Yep.
I do. I've read it.
All right. And we are going to shift over
to
locals.
Oh, come on, Bobby. Come on, boy. That's for that
held out to the end.
That's for that guy's birthday.
Happy birthday. Hope to see more of you there. We will be hanging out.
Don't forget there's a sale on there, right, Eric?
There's a sale on there through the end of this month. So
till the end of this month.
We have never given a discount before. We've never had a sale before. This is it through the end of the month.
The end of the month. 30 days past September, April, June, and November. All the rest have 31 except leap year, which has 29 or something like that.
We'll figure it out on locals.
We'll figure it out over on locals because a lot of experts over there know this stuff. I personally don't know it.
Absolutely.